action that's happened, give the teams their interview, their time, everything as usual. But let's see which maps we're going to be playing on. I would like to remind everybody, again, a best of 3 series. You pick the map, and you have to be careful how you maneuver yourself around the map bands. Going for Clubhouse first, that's Cowana's pick. Oregon picked by Penta Sports, and then Villa is their decider, as Penta had the final say, and they removed Cafe, with Cowana taking away Coastline. Generally, big thoughts on all of this before we very briefly talk about Clubhouse. Is there someone that won this ban phase, Fluke?
I mean, it's going to be a little bit tough for Penta if they get onto that final map. If they get onto Villa, where you're assuming that Cowana are starting on their defense, you expect them to do well on the defense. I think that's all I'll kind of put it out there. Third map, starting on their defense, it's not going to be easy for Penta.
They're a very well-rounded team, right? And we've seen what they can do in Challenger League. I'm not too worried here for Penta. I think they are, like, at least they're the favorites in my eyes. They won Oregon with a 7-0. Yes, of course, it was maybe not against a team that, you know, it was Heretics. They are still good, but maybe not the same caliber as that Cowana is right here. But I don't know. Like, the last map will be decided by a coin flip as well. So if it gets to that, it could be a 50-50, really.
Okay, I'm wondering what happens on Clubhouse. Very quickly, our game is ready. Hap, how do you see this going score-wise?
Penta gets to choose site, so they'll probably start out on the defense. I think in 7-4, 7-5 Penta.
Blue?
I don't want to make a prediction because last time we said you don't take the UK teams to Clubhouse, Eminem had the worst game that they've ever had on Clubhouse. So I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say let's hope for a good game. Let's hope for a good game.
All right, Fluke, Hap, thank you so much for shedding light on all of this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like any more details for us to explain everything, make sure you go to social media. Let us know what you think there. We'll be very glad to elucidate any points or any questions that you may have. For now, though, let's toss us over to our wonderful co-casters for game number 1. It's Cowana going up against Penta Sports. It's UK Massive against the French Baguettes today. Let's see what's cooking. It's Jess and Des, all yours.
Thank you very much, Milos. This is a game that I have been so excited about over the last week. We've just come off a wicked weekend of major action, and today you get to really see the cream of the crop in Challenger League compete for that spot at those finals in December. One of these teams could be a team that, assuming they win the next match or beat Rogue in their relegation match, depending on which way the finals go, that could find themselves in EUL next year. That is one hell of a prospect. And for a lot of these players, some have been stuck here in Challenger League for a while, some that have climbed all the way up from Tier 4 this year. This is a massive fixture, Jess. Let's get into map number 1, Clubhouse, coming up, and we're starting out with the operator bands.
I'm really excited to see Clubhouse between these two teams. We often say that Clubhouse is that map where you work out which team is technically better, both in mechanical skill, technical skill, map knowledge, manipulation. So I really feel like whilst Oregon has kind of taken the cream of the crop there a little bit recently, Clubhouse still has that essence. So we get to see that here again. And Arkic says, again, question mark. And I don't know if that's because an ace ban coming out and them going, okay, we've read you. We expected this. And a Maverick ban as well. So that's something going to leave, what, we've got a Habana, we've got a Thermite, and we've still got a Thatcher. I mean, this is an odd ban phase in my mind because this leaves a lot open.
I think back in the day when there were only 3 hard breaches in the game, you'd have been asking a question of, oh man, can you really do this map with just a Thermite or just a Hibana? But now, of course, there are 4. It's a much more comfortable affair. Let's not forget as well, although very rarely used, there is also that hard breach gadget, which a few teams have been making use of on operators like the Capitale. So let's not get too, I suppose, down if you're a Cowana fan here about the lack of hard breaches available. Everything should be fine. Malusi and Valkyrie going to be the final 2 coming out here. Anything that jumps out to you on that defensive side, Jess? Because truthfully, Malusi was the must pick. It was very rarely banned. Everyone was picking it. And I think over time, she has become a more and more prominent ban for a lot of teams.
It's something that you don't want to deal with. You're on a map like Clubhouse, you make the assumption that there's probably going to be a couple of shields. You have to deal with reinforced walls, wall denial. You don't also want to get there and go, oh my God, there's a Banshee sitting in the middle of the room as well. We don't have as much soft breach as we would need to get rid of it. And you're looking onto the attacking side there. And whilst Penta banned it and they're starting on defense, you look towards Cowana. They don't have an Ash in play. They've only got the Zofia there. They've got the Sledge with the grenades and a Thatcher which can deny it and deactivate it for a little bit as well. So there's a lot you can do to go around it, but they've just said, get it off the board. We don't want to deal with it because we believe that when we go onto our attack, there might be shields in play here, and we don't want to have too much to go against.
Looking at the setup coming out of Penta, I don't think you want to scream from the rooftops like I very often do and say, SSG road coming through, because it's not 100% in that sort of vein here. What I am looking at, though, is seeing 2 sets of impacts coming out. And my curious question is, what is enemy going to be doing here? Because if he's playing on the roam, that's 2 impacts you don't have sight to look to deny away those Excaros or the exothermic charges coming out. Whereas if he does stay on site, I think we all know what's going to happen around Kitchen.
I would like to see him stay on site with it. I don't think that's what will happen. It does look like he might rotate up a little bit. Maybe he'll grab some drones. Maybe he'll make everyone think. But no, they've got those verticals over Kitchen. So, okay, it will be enemy upstairs. It does look like he might be a bit solo. And his purpose up here is to be able to hold verticals, be able to hold everything off that he needs. But he is by himself. So this seems a little tricky to me. I'm worried, Des, because the moment you commit to something solo like this with all of your, and he doesn't, lives come up, so this is perfect. They can hold this off for a very, very long time, but they need to play together. And Eminem, they're a good clearing team, so they need to be careful.
I love how they're playing this as well, because the holes they've got opened up looking towards the hallway. They're looking towards fine, don't worry. The UK team, just say that. Just say the UK team are doing this, and you'll be absolutely fine. But where they've opened up these holes upstairs, it is looking into the hatches, both inside of stock and inside of kitchen. So they're looking to have these dangerous angles that then cause a bit of trouble. Not so much into kitchen, sorry, although there is the angle there. You had the one looking onto the hallway stairs that can also contest into the bar area. So it's almost challenging Cowana here and saying, look, you can try and ignore us, but you're going to have to try and deal with the top floor first. As soon as you look towards getting those hatches open, you are in trouble. And there's a name I'm not too used to seeing on the entry. It's Grizzly on the support, bringing down enemy nice and early.
That's exactly what you want your flex player to do. Please watch the rotate, because if they drop down, we need you there to catch them. Boom. Enemy tries to rotate away. He doesn't get away like Alive does, and he gets his life completely eliminated. But they wasted about half the round, so you can't really say that it was a waste. And Alive got away with his life as well. So for Penta, that's probably the best outcome. That wasn't, however. That's an entire C4 gone and wasted. And now the only plant denial they'll have is the smokes on Ravard.
I wouldn't even be too concerned here. 90 seconds in, you've killed one player. You've therefore cleared the top floor and the ground floor as well, as all players have been forced back to site. It's not a bad spot coming out for Cowana, and Slotus opens up a hole for himself and goes, hey, there's a Blaz. Guess I'll bring him down. No problem at all. One thing I often criticized Cowana for was their drone efficiency, how many they had left alive late round. Here we're down to about 4, but given you've dealt with the roam play coming out of Penta, I'd say they're in a pretty good spot to close this round out. Sloth rotates onto blue stairs, picks up yet another. And this is a 5 versus 2 for Cowana. Surely this is the kind of round that you don't throw away, Jess.
Is Sloth going to have another one of those 20 bombs this game? It's already looking that way with the impact that he's had, and it doesn't matter where you are. If you're Penta, they're going to spot you out no matter what angle you're holding. But Ravine, he'll be able to clap back, and he's the only one to do so. And Des, this seems like a tall order, but he does have time on his side.
He does. Plenty of time to play around here as well. 20 seconds to go. Still has a smoke in back pocket. That's going to get dropped out. It is a 1v3 as you clocked onto. With 15 seconds to go, though, we always speak about this 6th man that the defenders gain when it comes down to situations like this. Almost saw the feet of one player there, but wasn't quite sure where he was. Now we're going for the plant, and surely we don't see Cowana give this one away. He's going to creep forward. They know exactly where he is. But guess what? Sloth was waiting behind you. Connects the kill. Gets the 3rd for himself in that round. And Cowana, excellent roam clear, excellent gunfights, make it look easy.
Yeah, Sloth had a really excellent play down blue there. You and I always talk about how the Zofia player almost just exclusively has to play blue stairs for some reason. Not sure why every team does this, but they all managed to put their Zofia player down blue. And that time that really worked for Cowana. Sloth, he read into the situation well. And probably not only did he read into the situation well, but he used drones to really exemplify how to take blue. He didn't just, okay, is someone going to peek me, face check, face check, face check. He had a drone consistently. And that's why Alive, who thought he wasn't spotted, got absolutely decimated next to Generator Box. Pretty damn good round there. And guess what? That's an attacking round for Cowana on the board. That's not painting a pretty picture for Penta on defense here.
Especially when there's 2 hard breach spanned as we keep on clocking onto. Maverick being one of the most popular. Ace, as we all know, excellent for executes with the smokes as well as dealing with walls. Not so hot when it comes to hatches, having to commit 2 of those Salmas, and with only 3 in the back pocket, you get 1.5 hatches, in which case it's just 1 because there's no such thing really as a half hatch unless maybe you're a Maverick. Either way, we're going to head up to the top floor, and this double reinforce coming through in towards logistics. This is something that we've clocked a few teams looking to do. It enables you to hold a bit more aggressively inside of construction if you want to. Look to challenge quite early inside a bedroom, and use that as the safe rotate back to site when you feel that your time has come and you can't play on the roam any longer.
Well, we don't really know, and I know that they spoke about this a little bit on the desk, but I really want to highlight it. Between these two teams, we actually don't know which team is the better team yet against each other. We can say statistically, Penta is the better team overall, but both of these teams went head-to-head and ended in a draw. Both teams walked away with the exact same amount of defensive rounds, exact same amount of attacking rounds, but this was on Cafe, and they did get banned out in the best of 3, and it wasn't banned until the last map, actually. So maybe both teams were expecting that one team would pick to go there. They didn't. And so now we do get to see a fresh bit of maps, and this is the best opportunity now in this best of 3 to prove that they are either better than Penta or they're not just quite at that caliber yet.
I'm always curious in what order things get opened up on this side too. Do you start out on the east? Do you start out on construction? Do you just put all your focus onto one wall and then garage? Here it seems to be that the focus out towards the east wall, which has now been opened up quite simply. Problem is now you've got to deal with these shields sat towards the back, and no doubt there's a couple of ADSs making this a little more problematic. The Wamai also being present will lead in towards this denial setup coming out of them. You can hear them being caught up by the magnets, but a couple do sing through. With Soft now having burned through all utility, that shield should be removed away. That's step 1. Where they move to next is going to be the big teller for Cowana as to how simply this round can end, or if it becomes grossly confusing.
Speaking of grossly confusing, they're going to be confused when they get to construction wall and half of it's opened on up. And whether that's for the impact tricking or not, I don't think it really matters, because opening that up would be a death sentence. You need the Habana to do that. There's no way you get a thermite on that wall safely. And they are impact tricking into logistics. Blaz isn't able to do it, and Ravan, even though he was lit before from the shield impact, he'll get a nice headshot onto Gorgona. Big thing now, grenades are gone. Not sure if they were already used, but I'm a little bit worried here for the attackers, because you've lost one player. You had some of your X-Caros impact trick. Grizzly's going to use his other X-Caros to pop them on the wall there. And with only one more set available, that means construction probably will stay closed.
That's another team looking to make use of the new way of opening these walls, where you get the bottom, you get the top, and the whole thing falls away. It can be destroyed just by destroying the little red bar across the middle at the bottom and top of those reinforcements. And with it being impacted out over the top, I think quite a smart adaptation out of Penta, to be fair. They were just aware that this might be a thing, and if you can destroy the top set, well, that wall's not getting opened as you clocked. It does mean you're in a very uncomfortable spot. What is he doing here? Trying to go for the soft wall opening up. That's a bit of a risk from Kayak, but gets away with it without being sprayed through the wall.
No way he gets away with it. That's ridiculous. That wall absolutely should have stayed closed. It's getting down to the 30-second mark, so that means those smoke babes will start to rain out. Problem is they don't have garage control here, so if Sloth can hit his shots, this is perfect. This is what he needs, and there he goes, but he gets swung. Swing or be swung.
Swing or be swung, and in this case, Blaz is swinging everyone and his dog. A couple of kills come through, just get traded out by Grizzly after not too long. 2v2 though, Anarchic finds a big one, and this feels like it should be a round that gets won by the side of Penta. Anarchic's going aggressive, going to try and make something happen, but I think he's in a spot to go and stick a plant out here. And Cactus is now going to have to get himself up red stairs and look to contest this one, otherwise it turns into a 1v1. He connects it. The question is, does he know where the spray comes through, but doesn't connect the crucial shots, and Cactus with a swing brings down Anarchic with the SMG and brings Penta around that you would say dead to rights was Cavana's to win.
What happened there? He heard the footsteps, he heard it coming up red, he got straight off the plant and started to pre-fire, and then of course we had Cactus's point of view, but you could see those traces, Des. They were nowhere near the man, and when you miss crucial shots like that, oh, it's got to be a real feels bad, and I bet you he's sitting there really kicking himself after that one.
Bit of a kicker, otherwise it could be 2-0 Cowana that we're staring at. However, I did say, at a point where it felt like Penta have done all the right things, a couple of opening kills, were in a really commanding position to then lose 3 members and only get 1 in response, brought things down to a 2 versus 2, and I was like, no way are Cowana going to steal this round. So a little bit of due justice, a bit of karma coming through for Penta there to be able to drag the round back. 1 apiece as we head back downstairs once again, with that Frost being 6 picked out for a pulse at the last second.
I want to see exactly how they choose to play this one, because you're right, they've swapped over to the Pulse now. Is this an intel gathering game? Enemy's not on the Vigil, so it's not a roam setup. He's got the Wamai in hand instead. Cactus, I'm going to make the assumption, has the impacts for the kitchen hatch. There's a lot of setup here that would really, and he does, there you go, that would really promote a nice turtle hold. My problem is that last time they dismantled blue quite easily, and one man, Sloth, did it alone. So they need to make sure they're not giving life up too quickly there. You can play quite safely there with a couple ADSs, a couple of magnets even, for a long, long time. So you need to wait. You need to bait them out to push lower. I wonder if they'll also put a couple of barbed wire there to give an indication as to when they are close. And I don't foresee them doing a roam. You can see Alive up in the rafters right now, and I don't foresee him staying up there long. Maybe he's just doing a drone hunt, and then he'll go back down to blue.
Yeah, no hatch holding from above in this round. It seems everyone is playing down on site, and I think the wise idea is to try something different. We've seen quite a few teams in this Challenger League season when it comes between trying the same site a couple of times in a row, or even just around between them. Totally different tactics can come out. It's not like every single team has only got one setup per site. So we'll see how Cowana do in a more pure execution style rather than trying to pick off these roamers one by one. Again, keep a close eye on the drones for Cowana. It's one thing that I've clocked a number of times is that, again, they do run out of them quite a lot to get towards the last 60 seconds or so of the round. I want to see if they can make sure more of those are left alive here, so when it comes around to execution time, they're not running in blind from one or two angles.
Well, one of those impacts were already used, and I argue maybe it could have been kept for some of these evil eyes because they're going to be much more important. A great drone up into the rafters or the top of generator there will give them the position to be able to see some of those magnets, which will stop them from destroying either the barbed wire or that very, very nasty evil eye, which is going to give a lot of angles and line of sight. Now that they're doing this turtle hold, Des, the big thing we've got to be prepared for is that they're being able to open up above really early on in the round. The thing for Penta, they wasted a C4 before, they've wasted a C4 again, and guess what? There's not another one in their hands to be able to play with here. So if you do a turtle hold, you miss your C4 and you don't have any impact on the attackers, you better damn hit your shots.
It's also that it's brought the pulse along here for the just in case we manage to catch one with the C4, but all it's done here is help out Cowana with more holes being open on the ground. If it had got a kill for them, very different story, but maybe that's more of the flex position they've got where they're not 100% sure what it is they want to play, and that is maybe why they moved away from that Frost in the pick phase. We get into the final 75 seconds or so here, and they've done all the work they need to get these vertical angles opened up, but the one thing that's still missing is that kitchen hatch. That needs to be opened up, and I'm wondering if that for Cowana is going to be the #1 committal. Is that where they go for the push? Because right now, Grizzly has moved himself on the downstairs, and they're committing everything towards the church wall.
They're going to get a heck of a lot of it open as well, and Ravan, he's feeling the pinch left and right now. He's going to have to stay right up against Fridge to save his life. SMG in hand, he could swing with the shotgun, and we've said multiple times this match already, swing or be swung. Looks like he wants to make sure his utility is used first, and that's the smart idea, but once he's out, which he's only got one more to play with, he might have to make a big hero play here because they know exactly where he is.
They absolutely do, and here we go. First kill coming out for enemy onto Sloth. The hero from round one is found the 3 kills. It's going to be put to bed nice and early. Revan struck back, though. He's down 2. Last finds one back, and it's just kill for kill going back and forth here, but Grizzly somehow connects it. They're into a 3 versus 1. Alive has got it all to do by himself and is ironically the last man alive. Tries to swing into blue, will find one. Doesn't know, I think, where the diffuser's going down, or quite simply unable to spray through. He's got nothing left on his health bar. All too easy for Cowana after getting this wall open, and I think there was a little bit of not so much bait play there, but a lot of committal for Cowana in towards kitchen, only to completely change things around, go for a moto drop, and get the church wall open instead.
That was a really smart read on the situation. They knew that Penta was going to hold and lock that kitchen hatch off no matter what they did. And there was a lot of vertical holes opened up by the defenders with that C4 and the attackers. So it was kind of a little tricky to make sure you could get it open, especially you got an extra thermic. You've only got one more X-Kara to work with. Do you really risk it on the kitchen hatch? What if it gets impacted again? Right decision there. They did a dual push so that no one could impact trick it twice onto the church wall. All of a sudden, Ravan's in a really sticky situation, and it's just not happening. And now, well, they'll go back downstairs and say, we're going to try it again. This time, we've identified that you want to open the church wall, and we'll chuck some bandits on it, which I don't think really matters because you've got a Thatcher in play because you didn't ban it. So, yeah.
I'm mildly nervous that we've tried this site twice in the first 3 rounds, failed it twice, and there are a plethora of other sites available. I'd say a plethora. There are 2, one of which you'll never play in bar and stock, and Gym and Bedroom, which is most teams off-site. Now, in my mind, there is definitely a world in which you prep that you're ready for it, that you set up the extended hold, U4 seems to waste time up there. After this has gone pear-shaped twice, and I'd say in relatively convincing fashion to Cowana, I really assume we'd be stepping into a different site to give this one a go, but hey, let's see if this works any better for them. A bit of denial might do them some good. They stepped away from playing on the pulse, still retain the C4, mind you, so maybe that does still get a say in this round.
I'm just pulling up some of those stats on Penta to see what it kind of looks like usually for them on Clubhouse. And I make sure that that changes over to Clubhouse and have a look at their compositions. I mean, they have such a huge ban rate on this map. 14 times banned since June and only played once, at least on my list here. And that was in the French League, I believe, against Team Forks, of which they tied. So they actually don't have a very good history on Clubhouse at all. And their favorite site by far is Church and Arsenal. So this was actually a really good map pick here, I'm not going to lie.
Well, this is the problem when you come into a best of 3, of course, is that you can only ban away either a map that you hate or a strong map of the other team, and then you're guaranteed at least to see a pick come through on the other side that's going to favour them. Speaking of a pick that favours them, Sloth bringing out enemy. It's the Wamai gun, so no more recharging metal pancakes for them to go tossing out. He'll stay firmly in his back pocket as his cold, dead body lies on the ground. Otherwise, looking down to 60 seconds in, to have the opening kill. I'd say this is not a bad spot to be in if you're Cowana. Once more, they're in a spot where they have the man advantage and all the time in the world to play with. I'm already starting to feel like this round's going a certain way, Jess, I won't lie.
I am very surprised because if you're Penta and Cowana already have 2 attacking rounds, you're doing everything in your damn power to get the rest of those defensive rounds. You do not want to walk away with Cowana having 3 attacking rounds. 4 attacking rounds even. That's horrific to go into your second half. The things that you would have to do to get away with that is immense. Now, Grizzly will place his Excarius hard right of the hatch so that the impact trick doesn't happen to hit it. Cactus too far away to deal with the impact tricking, so that hatch gets open for free. And I'm a little worried now because they put all of their eggs in one basket. But Anarchix, he's very close here, but there's a lot of players to deal with him there. And while drones are zooming out and spotting them, no one's really acting on the information yet.
I'm mildly concerned here that they've just lost 3 drones trying to drone the Maestro all in the space of 10 seconds. However, you can see why they were keeping him busy because he swung up and got 3 kills to himself before going down. Sloth very much so a martyr for Cowana in this round, as Cactus is also on the deck. 4 versus 1. Cowana, 1 more kill would have been enough, and they found it in no time at all. Round number 4 also going their way, and my God, Church and Arsenal, not a sight I think we're going to see again in this half.
They're going to have to do something here because what they're doing right now is not the answer. Nothing they're doing is working. It didn't matter how they tried to adapt Bandit, this, that, impact tricking, and the lack of impact tricking in that round. I can understand, I'm stuck in AKs because, someone's in dirt, but the barricade was still partially up. You could have attempted to go over, at least give yourself a diagonal angle and attempt the impact tricking, even though the verticals were open. He didn't even try. Nothing really came of it, and they didn't try and push Church. So props to Cowana. They're not being overly predictable. And let's be honest, the last round they pushed it, they actually did an adaptation late round. That wasn't their initial plan at all. So Penta's trying to be on the fly here with the adaptation. And it's almost like they're adapting to something that Cowana isn't even planning. So Cowana always has the upper hand here because Penta is overthinking this, I think.
I mean, Cowana woke up on the right side of the bed, and I think Fluke spoke about this back on the desk. He said something along the lines of, for Sloth, it was only a couple of rounds in which he really woke up the other day. And I think it was in the first map, he was silent. The second he turns up and drops, was it 20 kills or something ridiculous?
23?
Something like that?
23?
Yeah.
Yep.
It was just disgusting. And I remember a message call going after us, and he was like, honestly, if he keeps that momentum going up against Penta, we'll win. And he started off wonderfully here. Round 1 and round 4, 3Ks in both rounds. Yes, wasn't really a part of rounds 2 or rounds 3, but not always required. A lot of that came down to Grizzly back in the 3rd round. Either way, it's 3 rounds for Cowana on the attack.
Well, Penta's going to try CCTV again and hope for a better outcome this time because, I think for Cowana, the problem is for them is that if you have the same setup and you read into that half-open hole in construction, this time you're going to be prepared to be able to deal with it. Whether or not they've got goal going on the sledge to deal with that or they're going to use Sloth's impacts to deal with that doesn't really matter. No possibility for wall denial on that wall or an attempted bandit trick this time. There's no wall denial at all. So it comes out of the fact that last time they tried to impact trick over in construction, this time they've gone, the walls are going to get open anyway because there's a Thatcher. Let's deal with what we can on the inside of side. And that's how they're going to do it this time. But Enemy, he's not been having the best of games so far. And if you look at their last matchup head-to-head, Enemy was the highest rated player for Penta against Cowana. So this is kind of going backwards now.
everyone looks at Blaz as the player to step up for Penta as well and really, you know, show up when the chips are on the table. But so far, I think he's still trying to find his form. He's played, what, 4 different operators? Alibi, Pulse, Bandit, and now Mozzie. He just keeps on changing in the hope that he's going to find something, I think, that really fits his groove and gets him going, because it hasn't really been a thing for him or for Penta so far. But we'll see if it does anything in this round for them. No one's down in the dirt just yet. It's one of the slower rounds in terms of the opening kill. The opening kill, apart from round 3, has come in the first 90 seconds. We're now at that point, so this is one of those slower rounds in which Cowana are taking things a little bit slower. We'll see if Penta can capitalize on that as that clock starts to run down. I say it, they absolutely are not. Grizzly's going to pick up a life.
And Grizzly's had a really good opportunity to pick up multiple opening kills at enemy. He's being harassed left, right, and center. Is that ADS still good to go, or is it not? No, it's not, but enemy finally gets taken down, and that was only 20 seconds. By the time they did start to push Garage, that he had been able to waste there. It used a lot of utility. Problem is, 60 seconds left, 5v3, Penta on the back foot, but Blaz says, all right, it's time to kick in, boys. I know I can gun, and now's the time to get it done, because, well, they've only captured 1 round in this matchup so far, and I get it. Clubhouse is not their map, but they're a good team. They're not showing it here today.
Man rocking the Roni as well. There's always such debate between that and the Commando here. But as long as it gets you a kill, who cares what gun you're rolling? And it is a kill for the side of Penta. They are still down a man, mind you. And this is exactly how the last round feels like it played out. It came down to that awkward 1v1 at the end after Cowana had advantage for most of the round. And Penta managed to win what felt like an impossible 1v1 to get the defuse off and take that only round they currently have on the board. Trying again here to look towards a focus up red stairs, but Grizz is going to push a little too aggressively, and Ravan's more than happy to bring him down. It's a 2 versus 2, sees the head, but Gorgona loses that challenge. Sloth, the man by himself to make something happen, but out on the breach. Cactus says no. Penta will take another round, and I wonder where we go for round number 6.
If I'm Penta right now, I go, okay, downstairs not working for us. They've read us like a book. No matter what we do, they've got an answer for it. So we want CCTV. Okay, that's not usually a site we do well on. Let's go to gym bedroom. That's what I see them picking here. There is absolutely no way you go back downstairs for this half. You got 1 more round to prove that you can at least square things away here on the first half. Because if this goes to a 4-2 and then Cowana get onto defense, I really feel for Penta, because that's going to be a bit of a slog. Unless both of these teams come in and they're just attacking sided on this map head to head. Statistically, very unlikely. But, you know, we always have this happen where things go against the grain of what we expect.
Oh, there it is, Jess.
Haha.
That we spoke. What did we speak about earlier? Before broadcast, you and I were like, Mira needs to not be a thing for Penta today, especially if we go to a map like Cafe, which of course we won't. We heard that the next 2 are Oregon and Villa. But either way, we know this team loves playing around the mirror, and I'm very curious to see what the setup looks like with it here. 1 going inside logistics, looking in towards construction. Whenever I see this mirror window, I just always remember G2 versus BDS back in stage 1 of EUL, when it was like 6-5 to BDS, and I was like, man, G2 can definitely do this. Shaiko charges in from cash, kills 3 people on site because Virtue looked away from the mirror window for a split second. It's just one of those moments I think I'll never forget.
Well, I do like that little mirror that looks over towards constructions. A lot of players often get construction for free if there's no cash hold, so they're trying to limit their ability to do that. And if you've got the right ADSs around so that you don't get native from the hatch, things can look pretty positive for you for a long time. My only problem is that it's on a soft wall. So if someone positions themselves up on construction window, which doesn't have a lot of threat to them if someone's holding over on platform, then things can look pretty bad for your mirror very quickly. But for the most part, things are, you know, settling in, looking like a cash push at the moment. They might rotate over knowing that it's not being held and just rotate over to platform to begin with. And this angle from Grizzly. He might net himself yet another opening kill if he's able to just snipe someone with the Type 89 here.
Sure they know about this angle, but this being opened up at the top side too is just screaming that someone's going to be watching this. And it's either from the roof or it's up here on the rappel. In this case, the rappel just daring someone to try and step in front. But for the side, I'd say of Penta, there is no need to pick this here. They can afford to wait. Sadly, Gorgona is saying patience and thing is just not my thing. And Blaz being alive in this round is also no longer. Gorgona, a player we haven't touched on all that much. It's the second entry. He has been super consistent all season long. And even here, hasn't been a stack-up player that we've seen from Sloth so far, but it's still bringing them the kills when they need them.
Well, they'll finally get Jacuzzi Wall open, and that's still within pretty good time. The problem is they need Grizzly to deal with the mirror, or they need to attempt something to be able to displace it. And I'm not talking about the construction mirror, I'm more talking about the mirror in bathroom. That's a big power position, it's a big power mirror. Well, then finally Sloth is able to get rid of that mirror over towards logistics, and the reason that being gone is really important is that if they position someone up on the hatch, Alive won't be alive for much longer. This is his hole, this is his room that he's been designated to be held, and once you lose it, it is very difficult as an anchor to stand on site. They've got over 60 seconds left, and I tell you what, Des, Cowana have a lot of the map that they shouldn't have had already.
Not what they do with it, mind you, and so far they've done an awful lot, and given an inch they've taken a clear mile and Alive. Again, the irony in a Jaeger going down to a grenade coming out for Gorgona to collect the kill and make it a second in the round. Cactus almost goes down as well and will get finished off by Sloth. This is just a total whitewash by Cowana. They are walking through the members of Penta, picking up kills as they go along. It's almost like they're just target practice at this point. However, sometimes they do shoot back, as we found out. We're into a 4 versus 2. Make that a 3 as enemy comes up big, finds himself a double. You can hear that mirror window being popped. The diffuser was going down for a split second from Anarchy, but he pulls off, and Cavana's like, thank you very much. Or Sloth even, not rather than Cowana. And Kayak collects the closing as well. This is, again, a little bit too easy. They are literally just walking at Penta and just saying, thank you very much. We'll collect these kills all day. This has been a half to forget, and Penta are going to have to do something magical here in attack on the second half. Otherwise, this could be a really quick map.
I would love to sit here and have some really intricate and deep and complex analysis about what Penta is doing wrong, but I've seen at least 3 perspectives where people have just simply lost gunfights they should have won. So on my list of what's going wrong with Penta, 1, there's almost no trades, so refragability is quite low. 2, they're getting spotted out by drones that for some reason they're not looking for. Like down in Lounge, for example, Blaz there was a drone on the top of the couch in the corner. That is a default spot for a drone. It spotted Blaz out running away, and all of a sudden, of course, he dies because they know his exact position. You can't be making these little mistakes because they grow into very, very big mistakes very quickly. And that big mistake means that Penta has been kneecapped from the get-go. Big hitters, last time against Cowana, were Enemy and Alive. And guess which 2 of the players are struggling the most? Enemy and Alive. Not sure if it's just the map. I will give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, but as the halves switch, Cowana decides, okay, you took a mirror, we'll take a mirror, but we'll also one-up you and take a clash as well.
There's a few players in the UK that do love themselves a good shield. Rendy back in the day, that's his heart and soul, used to be on Cowana. He is one of those players that I think would employ a lot. And Grizzly, another one of them that you're looking at here and thinking, what wonders can this man work? And with the mirror, with the Jaeger and the Wamai, even the mutes to deny drones as well, there is just so much time-wasting potential on the side of Cowana here that for Penta, I'm thinking you boys have got to be damn quick in dealing with this, and maybe the Buck's going to help with that, taking a little leap out of Gorgona's Buck here and saying, you know what, I know you love it, we can make use of it as well. Let's get some of this vertical destruction on the go.
The big difference between Penta's mirror over towards construction and Cavana's is that they've reinforced theirs. And I know it seems like such a little fact, but I think it's such an important one. That C4 will miss, and, well, that's because it was a buck from long range. I was going to ask what the buck was for, but maybe they thought they would go downstairs first because that's their primary bomb site as well, and that would have been really helpful to get some of those verticals. You can still use it below, but it doesn't quite have the effect that it would on many of the other sites on this map. Of course, where else would Sloth be but not on site with Jaeger? And whether or not he does any damage below is yet to be seen, because what Penta will look to do to start off with is get Jacuzzi wall open, see if they can get this mirror wall open as well. Thatcher rains out, and so does yet another C4, but no one will connect with it. And big thing now is mirror's gone, bathroom power position displaced. Penta's looking good.
They're in a spot where they're still holding inside of the hallway, so just looking to waste some time. And yes, you have to back away if fear of someone pushing up main stairs, as well as the outside angles that are being contested. Gris is going on a scouting mission here. I think nothing else to help back Sloth off, who's still running around inside a strip. Probably looking towards main stairs to come for the rejoin, but you've got Blaz holding between them inside of the hallway here, who's got to be careful himself and almost gets himself taken out. But it's going to be Gorgona who draws first blood onto enemy. That's the Thatcher off the board.
That's a bit of a shame. They're going to have to pick that diffuser back up, and Ravan does. Good shot onto the head of Cactus, and now they want to creep their way in. They've decided stealth is the play. That's how they're getting access, but surely the Clash knows.
Oh my God.
And Gorgona knows as well, and it doesn't matter what power positions you open on up, you're going to get absolutely decimated by Cowana. And guess who's the last alive? It's an Ash on the roof. That's not expected, but it gives them time to have a bit of a discussion. When you're a 1v5 like this, take the free timeout it gives you. Not sure if Blaz is really taking that into account, but you should absolutely take the time, reset yourselves, and hey, nice trade.
We'll go with a 3K in the round as well to close things out. Good trade at the end, as you say. But another really dominant round coming out of Cowana. It's these cases where like someone's swinging you and you think, okay, surely they get the kill here first, but they're just missing crucial shots. There isn't that much more to expand other than Penta are literally missing these big crucial shots. And we came into this season of Challenger League like, wow, it isn't just a Blaz show anymore. You're seeing players like Ravan alive, even Cactus was stepping up and putting numbers on the board. But here, as it stands on this map, again, we'll always give them a chance. We normally say give it a half, but because we're in a best of 3, we'll give them a map. You expect to see a little bit better than this for a team that has already tasted defeat when they were that close to getting into EUL before, that they would come here fully ready today, but this isn't the Penta that we're used to seeing so far.
Oh no, the Yak 6 picks off the Clash. What a shame. Would have loved to have seen another one of his famous 180 flick with the SBS and G9. Won't be in this round, but maybe in future rounds or maps. And Cowana are doing what Penta couldn't do, or didn't do rather, and that's get that bandit trick happening. How they employ it, I'm not sure. But when you've got a Thatcher in play, you can absolutely bandit trick exothermics. You can most definitely bandit trick X-Kairos, which are a slight bit slower. I think this is a great plan to be able to counter the fact that a Thatcher is in play. A lot of teams just throw an EMP, run away, and then all of a sudden, oh no, my exothermic's gone, and that's a big bit of detriment for them. And Gorgona looks like he'll impact trick the construction wall. So things all look like they're in good play here for Cowana. What Penta need to do now is that they're in a 3-round deficit. They need to get their mentality in check. I think that's what's causing them to panic a little bit, maybe stress out a little bit, maybe take some solo angles that they're just not winning for some reason. And it's a shame that it has come down to things like gun skill, because that's not how you want to sit here and talk about a game. You want to talk about teams completely, counter-adapting their opponents. You want to talk about how they're just so much better at the plant. We just can't say that at the moment.
Not just yet, we can't, absolutely. And hopefully, again, if it does come around to going to the second map, then it warms up in time for that. They will get this wall open here, actually, pretty quick, and I was concerned that we'd see some denial coming out of the side of Cowana quite early on, but nope. They have sorted that out quite comfortably, and the wall is open inside 30 seconds, the same amount of time that it took Cowana, even when there was no denial on the side of Penta.
Maybe Blaz will kick in now that he's on attack. Maybe this is his go-to. I think, what was it? I always think back to what Joystick said in his interview in EUL. He said, I just wasn't feeling it on defense, but I got on attack and I just switched on. So that was really cool. And Kayak says, don't impact trick. I can bandit trick this wall instead. I missed out on the other one, but I've still got my bandit charges to work with here. I'm worried that the attackers would have been able to sail over a grenade if they had a grenade operator. They don't, so Cowana, they're pretty lucky about that one for now.
A couple of drones being picked up on these outlying members as well. They had a couple going into sight, which Kayak has dealt with quite adeptly as well. So we are down to just a few left for the side of Penta at that 90-second mark. And this is the problem that Sloth, I spoke about him last week. Sloth is like a fusion, I think I said, of Oscar from Granite Gaming and Joe from Na'Vi. And he has these rounds where he pops off and the rest of them he's very, very quiet. But he's always going to be out on the roam. He'll always be out of doorways and windows, giving you trouble as Joe would. And here he's found Cactus on that buck quite early. So that vertical destruction from below should be very limited in this round.
They really needed that buck from below as well. Now Kayak knows he's quite safe, but decides to swing into Ravan's line of sight instead. Head taken cleanly off. And now, if you're Ravan and you're on the frag bite, you know that you could do a bit of damage now you've done your job. Looks like Alive will be the one to open up extra angles. And, they really want to challenge the Jaeger down here. No need, enemy. He doesn't have a C4. The only opportunity that Sloth would have to have damage would be either from the construction hatch, which is open, or from a flank up of those main stairs, which you could easily watch with a drone. And, now we're getting down to the 30-second mark. Can they get this wall open to get the plant off? Shots are flying everywhere. It's just an Elder spree, and somehow... with the wall opened up, Gorgona could stand in the middle of Cash and just let it fly.
He holds down the outplay button, Jesse, holds down that left mouse key and just sprays through the breach. Thank you, Sloth. You literally took the sound effects out of my mouth. Out it goes all day long. Two-peak the breach. He brings down both and then swings around for the third, looking towards the north doorway. And these are the kind of fights that need to be won by Penta. If he's swinging you out like that, someone's got to be swinging at the same time to go for a kill from an alternative doorway. But Gorgona just all too ready for that one. 6-2. Match point. Cowana on defense. Something tells me exactly which way this map is going, Jess. And guess what? It's starting to sound a bit like Cowana.
This is an awful map to start off on as well if you're Penta. Because let's say, okay, Clubhouse is their absolute worst map by far. I actually think, given their ban phases, they consider Consulate to be one of their worst. But anyway, you know, each to their own. And so let's say that this is their worst map out of the 3 that we can possibly go to today. You don't want it to be your first. Because imagine the mentality, imagine the tilt, imagine the emotional mess you might be in after this. Imagine if you're, let me bring on one of the players now. Imagine if you're alive and you are literally the Jaeger player for your team and you drop a 1 and 8. You cannot walk out of this match and completely reset yourself. You can have a great mentality as a player, but there's no way you walk out of this map and go, all right, boys, yeah, made a mistake, no problems. All right, next map, easy clap. No way.
What I am slightly confused about is during the regular season as well, it was Cactus and Enemy who were playing these more supportive operators. Blaz is still on the Ashes we've always seen, but Ravan was normally on things like the Zofia. So there are a couple of changes in terms of what the team's bringing along here. Maybe they thought, look, if Clubhouse really isn't our forte, let's mix things up a bit, see what else we can change, what we can do that's different. Short answer, boys, is it really hasn't worked out. So I'm hoping there's some changes coming into map 2 if this round does go the way of Cowana. But either way, as we keep on saying, it started out super strong for the British side so far. Let's see how this round plays out, though. Nothing really notable in terms of changes. You've got Sloth jumping away from playing on that Jaeger, going onto the Vigil and handing duties over to Gorgona. I touched on these two being the primary entry of Sloth and the secondary entry of Gorgona. I think both so far are currently racing for top of the kill board. And hey, Kayak not having the cleanest game, but Blaz, he started to send it up in this round, pushing his way down through dirt. What else can he find on his push through? This can be super hard to get through if you're in a spot where there's still a smoke alive, for example, which there isn't, or there's someone sat watching this doorway. So that's what he's got to be careful of.
It's good that he kept the trigger discipline then, didn't shoot the goo mine. He's going to shoot it now, and other bullets crossed from box 3 will have shrouded that sound. They'll get another drone in to hot drone him in, or live drone, depending on your terminology, and it's going to be yellow pinging a couple of them. Trouble is, I think there's even more than a couple of them aiming down towards dirt after that. Really good and swift entry from Blaz. He crouch walks in, he sees one. Sure, he's able to capitalize on it. Oh no, there's too many angles. Ravan's behind though, and oh, double kill for him. And now Cowana somehow on the back foot, and suddenly, in half a match, or half a round, it's a Penta round. That was rather
very quick. Given how things have played out for Cowana so far, to just drone a player straight in through dirt and be like, hey, I guess we got this, and the Thermite's following to collect a double kill as well. Uncharacteristic is probably how I'd describe it. Or not so much uncharacteristic for Penta, but uncharacteristic for how teams often approach this site. You're normally looking towards church wall, getting kitchen open, looking towards the stock hatch, pushing someone down blue. Penta just throw that out the window and say, no, dirt is, that's where we're going. That's our primary entry point, and they make it work. Fair play to them. Still 3 rounds in a row to win here if they want to force it through to overtime. Going back into Gym and Bedroom here for Cowana, where they won a couple of rounds back.
I did say in the first half that I thought Penta was overthinking their opponents. That round, they didn't overthink at all. Blaz said, excuse me, can I have a drone? Yeah, no problems. Dirt's open. Yeah, that's where I'm going. Complete decimation of dirt to begin with onto the smoke, and then crouch walking into sight. He went aggressive to start off with, and then used stealth to sort of shroud the fact that he was entering, and the Ravan said, no problems, I got your back in every way, shape, and form. One of your duo entries could have your back, and for whatever reason, it was the frag bite to do it, but I mean, whatever works. And Cowana says, okay, that's all right, boys. We still have 3 rounds of a buffer against Penta. Let's go back up to gym. We've got the mirror to play with. We've got the clash to play with again. And, well, things are still looking in Cavana's way, even though Penta had a pretty good round just then. You can't be pulling out those pocket strats every round and getting away with it.
And here they brought along the sledge. They 6-picked it in place of the Buck. In the last round, we saw them play Buck. The round before, Buck. It's been Buck all the way through. So here I'm just thinking it's down to those frags more than anything else. If you want to try and clear out the Clash player, for example, or catch out the mirror, she's holding behind a shield. There's some work you can do both from below and also on the hatches above or through the breach. So we'll see how they intend to use it. Kicking things off, though, they're going straight towards this extended hold, and Sloth, wasting no time, wants to try and contest onto the player holding just outside of the window. But I think he's a little too wise up to this one, that if he stares at a hole for too long, eventually someone is going to shoot back.
Yeah, Sloth wants to pad those stats even more for these playoffs. He's been doing damn well so far, and he sits quite high in the playoffs ratings. In fact, if I go to the playoffs, I've got 28 tabs open, but if I go to the playoffs tabs and I go to the leaderboards,
Look, this is going to be a bit broken because of his one map, okay?
and that's what we have to say. The only few other players that ranked above him was actually Ravan, which was quite a one-sided match, let's say. Fonkers, Deepak, and then Sloth in a 1.36. So he's had a pretty good rating so far in playoffs, and I think he's looking to extend himself even beyond that of Ravan.
Always going to help when you have more kills in one map than pretty much most of the players would have got in the entirety of CL. Go figure. Let's see if he can convert anything else on this one. It is 11 kills so far on this map, and look how cheeky he's being, just watching up towards the rooftop. No one yet stepping out across it, but all it takes is someone to take a few steps back, and it could be the Thermite here as he steps across a little bit and might step into the line of sight. Absolutely not. For now, they'll keep themselves safe, but he is just waiting. Look at him. Now they must know. There they go. There they do. Absolutely do. Good stuff.
They need to get rid of this mirror now, and the problem with that is I'm not entirely sure they have what they need. Where's Alive right now? Is he able to get any of those X-Kairos onto that particular mirror? That's what they need. He has 2 left to go, and he'll surely be able to work with it now that they've been able to stop anyone from peeking onto it. A couple of those X-Kairos will go off, and the C4 will destroy them. And that's probably a wise use of it, because if Gorgona is going to use everything in his power to get rid of it, then what are you doing? Blaz! He repels up at the right time and drops over as he tries to shoot it off. And when I say give your life for the mirror, I didn't mean that literally.
In the C4 I can understand, but a whole operator maybe a little bit less so. Over the top, I'd say, in trying to get rid of that. There's always going to be that angle being watched by Penta, and you know they were committing at least 3 players out towards that side of the map. They take their just desserts and bring down one of the players. But look at that Sloth with a massive flank coming up main stairs. Brings down 2 outside, and like that, their presence through the breach is eviscerated. They still have 2 out there. They collect the diffuser and almost get themselves tagged down by Sloth once again. But he's in such a power position. An Arctic gets another onto Alive, who is no longer just that. Sloth finds a triple kill in the round. Can it be a 4th to close things out for them? It won't, as Cactus brings one back, but he has got 10 seconds to work some magic right here. And my God, I hope he's a magician. Tries to push forward, looks towards the site, but Kayak steps up big. Cowana taking map number 1.
A word, or rather a phrase that not many would have expected you to say, but it is Clubhouse, and maybe if we could put a little bit of a benefit of the doubt on the side of Penta and say, this is just not their map, and it's a best of 3, so they're lucky it's a best of 3, because that map was very decisively in the hands of Cowana. Sloth will walk away the MVP, very expected after his last best of 3, and he'll drop a 14k for the trouble. Whilst Ravan and Cactus, they step up for Penta. Blaz stepping up in the second half, but not enough to bring them that map victory that they need. Now, they have to win the next 2 maps if they want to put themselves in contention for those relegation spots.
Whew, I mean, that was dominance. Nothing short of absolute dominance by the side of Cowana. I'm pretty sure the side of Penta are going to need this break, and it's a good thing because we've got some ads to jump to. Let's go to those now. When we come back, we'll go to the analysts before getting into map number 2. See you in a few.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the analyst station. Fluke and Hap are on the desk. First of all, let's be honest, UK Massive starting to become a thing. It threatens all of our existence. Fluke, Cowana did it, and that's just map 1.
Did it well. I think that's the thing about all of the confidence that we saw from their play. It could have even been locked off earlier if Anarchic, had been able to clutch a moment from round 2. Penta just seemed a pace and a step behind. You're having Cowana absolutely pop off, which is a player who's been a little bit quiet, but consistently kind of building and building and building, always top 3 of the team. You see him swinging that Ald around. You see a team that is here and striking a Penta, and I don't think they've been struck like this yet.
Hap, what was the problem going into this with Penta? Because we are not expecting Clubhouse to be such a one-sided affair, to be honest.
Well, I mean, Fluke kind of said before, you don't take a UK team to Clubhouse, so I guess that's been proven right here today. But yeah, Penta, they seemed a little bit asleep, and I said before, they haven't shown us everything yet. Well, they definitely didn't show us this one before, because they were absolutely being dominated here by Cowana. And it doesn't spell much good. They need to win these next 2 maps now if they want to be making it to EUL.
Yep.
Because, I mean, they've already been a season in CL, and it's a pretty big org that's supporting them. So surely there is a lot of pressure on these players to make it back. And this map deficit, that will definitely not make it better.
Yeah, unfortunately, 6-3 the scoreline. Oh, sorry, 7-3. I still have, for some reason, the year 2 scorelines in my head. It's 7-3 victory at the end. There's only a couple rounds on defense that Penta was able to collect, which is not great if you look at Clubhouse overall, which is why we're applauding Covana's performance today on their attacking side. Oregon, though, map 2 is again one of those very much push towards the defense maps, and I'm wondering, does the story apply again for this one, Fluke?
There's got to be a heck of a team talk. Some halftime oranges here for Penta if they want to step up, because we know that they're massively capable of it. We know what they can deliver. That was some of the worst that I think they've played throughout all of this stuff. And for a team where we're kind of always expecting a little bit more, because we know the caliber and we know the quality, as do they and as do a lot of the viewers, that was, as we said, the worst that they've played. They are going to strike back. They're going to strike back hard on their attacks. We can't forget that 3 of their players were the best kills per round players across the entire season. They were the ones, and all on the same team. They couldn't make it work before. I have a feeling we're about to see Penta step up a level.
I'm just quickly checking, because
Go ahead.
you normally play 1 or 2 games, right? 1 or 2 maps that you do not like in a best of 3, especially one because you can ban one out. So I'm quickly trying to find out how their Clubhouse ratio is, and the first game I'm finding is a 6-6 against Fox on the French league, which was of course a team that disbanded shortly after. And if I'm quickly checking through, I cannot really find any major Clubhouse map statistics. So I must have to say, I don't think they were ready for this map, and they had the choice to ban out, and probably didn't expect Cowana to instantly push it to Clubhouse, or willing to take a bet with this one.
Obviously, if Cowana win Oregon now, then it's all over Penta Sports. It just ends in a 2-0. When Penta came in, they completely demolished Heretics, right? 7-0 on Oregon. That's really the latest that we have of them in the playoffs. Looking, though, at map number 1, and looking at Penta's play on Oregon earlier in the playoffs bracket, what do we expect for Penta to go with? Because their attacking side was not too shabby. Playing against Heretics, still ended up with 3 attacking rounds. Any operators that can take away to really make Covana's life a bit more difficult on this? Usually, again, a very defensive-sided map.
It's tough because Cowana, they hit their standards. They hit their basic kind of plays. I mean, it becomes an argument of who can adapt better. And I think if they start to look at potentially pulling things out like, Jaeger or Wamai, some of the standard mainstays, rather than go for map-specific bans, they might be able to see a little bit more, because what Penta have is a very good aggressive creativity. They can push on the fly and adapt on the fly. Cowana like to have a plan and a plot and go with it, sure. They have players that can pop off, as we've just seen on the map before, but when the wheels are turning and going the way that they've prepped, they're at their best. So
I just want to put out there, though, before you continue, Cowana is starting off on defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. That doesn't bode well for Penta, but they have played Oregon quite a bit. So I'm quite confident in their abilities in playing this map, and I just completely checked everything, and I only see 1 time they played Clubhouse. So I think we have to also put it up like that. They banned it most of the time when they could. They really don't like that map. It was a sacrifice they had to make in this best of 3. And, well, Cowana took the best out of it, puts them on a good leg here, but again, Penta, they never really played that map. So I'm going to have to say Oregon must look a lot better from them. And if it doesn't in these first couple of rounds, then they're in big trouble.
Luke, I cut you off. I'm very sorry. If you'd like to
fine.
continue on with your point.
I've just got a lot of energy. I've got a lot
Go
of
ahead.
excitement. Maybe
Yeah, it's good.
You know, maybe it's from Cowana stepping up, because that was, again, if I'm going to talk about Penta not playing the best that they've played, that's some of the best that we've seen Cowana play. And even then, you know, it was, compared to the Villa game we had before from Sloth, a steady Sloth game. It wasn't full caliber, full guns blazing, but to be fair, when he was, it was a very tight, tough game against Windstrike. Whereas that was a little bit more calm. I'm curious to see when we get an elongated game, which I think we might have on Oregon here. I have a feeling Penta are about to step their game up, as I said. I think we might see a longer exchange from Sloth there.
I hope we go to a map 3 on Villa. It's going to be the most technical map within this series, and I genuinely want to see it, but it all has to pass through Oregon. Yet again, another defensive-sided map. Penta on Clubhouse could not pull anything off against Cowana. Only 2 defensive rounds when they started on their defensive side early on. So, bit unfortunate. Oregon, how does this work? Cowana starting off first on the defense. Full cap, thank you so much here on the Babe Station, the analyst desk. Let's, however, toss it over, though, to our casters. Jess and Des, please take us away from map 2, Oregon.
No one's ever going to understand just how big that smile on Fluke's face really, what that really said to us behind the scenes. Either way, map number 2 coming right up. Oregon, a map that Penta have beaten some big names on. BDS, Vitality. In fact, against BDS in the final of the French League, it was the only map they beat BDS on. It is definitely one of their more solid ones. But Cowana, they're hardly a shrinking violet on this map as well. They've had it banned away a couple of times. They've banned it themselves a couple of times. And they beat the 4-5 on it. So this could be a big surprise to Penta when Cowana come out here and really come swinging in exactly the same way they did on Clubhouse. Jess, let's get into it and get into these operator bans.
I am extraordinarily excited that we get to see Oregon as the second map. I actually thought coming into it, it would be Penta's map and they may have also won Clubhouse. So I thought, oh no, we won't even get to see a third map. Cowana, you know, they'll be on the back foot. But now Penta's on the back foot. They need to put their all into this map. You said, rightfully so. They've already beaten some massive teams on this map. This is technically their turf. And this used to be their turf in the old iteration of Oregon as well. So this has been their go-to map for a very, very, very long time. Maybe new players coming in and out and whatnot. But for the most part, I expect Penta to walk away with this unless they've let themselves get a little tilted. And then things might change up.
Interesting to see the Monty band coming away.
Question mark.
I'm also thinking question mark a little bit, given Cowana didn't play this last time on this map. I don't know. Maybe they're just aware with it being one of their stronger maps. It's where they feel a little bit nervous and they just need to take it away. They just can't deal with the Monty. Not that Cowana necessarily were going to play it, but it's taken away regardless. Thatcher and Valkyrie. Valkyrie, again, we've spoken about so much, not a surprise at all. And the Malusi ban, once again, is going to be brought to the floor.
I'm going through all of their bans on Oregon, and not that I can see in my statistics has Penta ever banned Montaigne on this map. So I could have turned around and said, hey, it's a comfort ban. But I'm not seeing it anywhere. Don't know what that is. Not sure what's going on. I like a bit of flavor to add.
Yeah, Blaz throwing in the stay focused guys, and they're like, guys, don't worry, we are totally focused. We're comfortable. We're one map up, and you're not. And you got to think again about the pressure that now sits over Penta. End of last season, Challenger League Season 11. They came up against Sisu, the team in 10th place. All they had to do was win those 2 matches, and they were through, and everyone on paper had them down as winning, and they choked. They threw. The team known as August, now known as Team Secret, made it into EUL in their place. It was absolute heartbreak for them. That last day of Challenger League Season 11 will still stand to me as one of the best play days of Siege I've ever had. It had so much drama going on one day. And maybe it gets beaten today if we see both of the UK teams win. I don't know. Let's see how map number 2 breaks down, though. Gorgona bringing out the Frost. That one I'm always excited to see, given it now. She now, of course, has the ITA.
I've not seen a Frost mat really work just yet in either Tier 1 or Tier 2, which is a little bit of a shame. And mind you, I haven't watched some of the games in other regions, NA and LATAM, for example, so maybe there's been a couple that have popped off there that I'm not aware of. But for the most part, in the games that we've been involved in, Frost really hasn't been a high-impact operator. How she has been high-impact, however, is two different areas. One, she's got the ITA, huge for that sight, manipulation, that destruction, everything that you would expect the ITA to be used for, because it's a really horrible killing machine. So don't use it that way unless you're boss. Then maybe we'll give you a pass. And then, of course, her gun, her primary weapon, not the Super 90, but it has some of the highest damage in all of the defense, and it has a 1.5 as well. So I think it's an absolute killing machine, and why not?
I remember saying and joking about it last week for Gorgona. He plays a lot of Bucks, so why not go for the full DLC operators there together? Go for both the Frost and the Buck together collectively. I even asked him, why are a lot of teams starting to run it? And he said, quite simply, I just really like the gun. Like, that's why he plays a lot of Buck at the minute. He goes towards that. The same can be said for the Frost, as you just mentioned. Really decent gun. The traps a little bit less so. Like, very rarely will you see teams at this level deal with them. They're normally placed in front of windows where there are repel opportunities. I mean, no matter what gun you've got, it ain't going to stop you getting tapped on the head by Blaz on attack. Great start to the round.
Did he even see? He would have seen a mere pixel of that man's head, and he put him to damn sleep, and now we won't even see how he utilizes that weapon. He's going to be put to the dreamland very quickly. I wonder what they had used to smoke before on the bedroom door, and I believe that was because they thought someone was playing bedroom, and as a result they weren't going to be able to open the wall. It does get opened up top and bottom, makes the wall soft, as we spoke about on Clubhouse, and now Penta, they've been able to get through a lot of what was hindering them to begin with very quickly. And they also got Attic, but they got Attic in a reverse way rather than usually going from the big tower over. They've been able to get it from trophy side, but Sloth, he's keeping that momentum running from last map.
Oh, he is indeed, and hopefully it stays throughout the whole thing, and it isn't just a one-round wonder here in round number 1. Down to 75 seconds left in the round of 4 versus 4. For both teams, it's not looking too shady right now. Cowana, the ones being on defense, she'll always give them that small advantage the lower that clock tends to run. I always speak about that 6th-man advantage. As that clock hits 0, the pressure is on the attackers. They cannot afford to make a single mistake in their execute. Otherwise, that clock hits 0 and the round is over. So it's a delay game here for Cowana. There's no need to go too crazy. I'm pretty sure an Arctic still has a smoke or 2 remaining if they want to. And these long angles are still being held by the side of Cowana at this point. Okate's only got 1 smoke counter left. Thank you very much. But the red spot where Blaz, look at him, trying to get cheeky through pick here to catch out the one playing at the very back of bedroom. Almost gets sprayed down on his push through. He's going to storm his way straight in. And here we go, the push from Penta. They look towards White, but Sloth swings out and finds another. Can he find where this player is going for the plant? Yes, he will. Connects onto the head. It might be a 1 round, but it's a triple kill for him. Grizzly in a 1 versus 1. All he's got to do is sit and wait. Let him peek onto you. Let him push into you and go for the kill. But Rivan's going to find the head first. Unfortunate for Grizzly and unfortunate for Cowana. Sloth with a 3k, still not enough, and once Penta hit that go switch, they go on to find the round. Good start to this map for them.
That was Grizzly on the castle, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Look, at the moment he changed his ADS from crouch height to mid crouch stand height, I knew he would lose it. I knew Rivan would peak at a crouch height. He was aiming at crouch height as well. Headshot was impending, and as a result, Grizzly had to correct his aim. And I mean, Rivan had already connected the headshot at that point, so he might have been able to win had he been aiming correct head height, which happened to be crouch height. But you never know. Is someone going to swing standing? Are they going to swing at a crouch level? You can't really swing at a crouch level. So in that moment, Rivan, I mean, he had that 1v1. He took the gunfight appropriately. He had the right weapon for it as well. And, well, there you go. Penta to get their first attacking round on the board, and that bodes a lot better for them in this particular matchup, as we did expect, as we did sort of predict going into Oregon.
Here's one for you that we tend to see Cowana do a lot. They ban away the Thatcher. If the other team does not ban away the Kaid, Kayak will always default across the playing on it. It was his most played operator in the regular season of Challenger League. It's just a kind of go-to setup they'll play behind here. So I'm keen to see how much time they can waste. But with the Maverick on the side for Penta, I'm also looking at it and thinking, is it really going to be that impactful for them? Maybe for the more walls rather than the hatches, absolutely. It really depends where he's going to commit to placing down these Electro Claws. Time will tell. But Cowana on the downstairs site here will be extending in towards L at the same time. We'll see how long they can hold this one out before they get a bit of a headache being caused by the side of Penta.
Just looking at Penta's attacking composition as well, this is their most utilized attacking composition by far on Oregon. They almost always bring the Ash, the Zofia, the Maverick, the Nomad, and the Ace. Continuously, no matter what. So there's been a few iterations of it where maybe they'll bring a Fuse one time, or another time when Thatcher's not banned, they'll bring a Thatcher. But other than that, this is the composition they're used to. Rivan says, get ready, I'm going to hit the shield. And no, there's a magnet there to deal with it. That is a grenade wasted. And wow, both of those concussions will get eaten up there, I believe. I'm not entirely sure if he'd only used one and that magnet drew it back and knocked the shield back, or if he used two. And he did only use one, so it was the magnet that pushed that shield back there. And Grizzly's going to be pretty damn happy with himself because that was a sloth setup through and through.
Yeah, those magnets had a couple thrown out as well, so that have wasted, like you say, quite a bit of utility. And he's now back outside again, just saying, do you really want to come and push us here? Well, we're going to know about it when you do eventually set up for that. And Ravan's having to hang around here. He's probably the best tool they've got in dealing with this clash. If they can't get rid of the clash, the trouble that he could cause in the late round could be unfathomable. We'll see how it steps up and if they can deal with him in the next 30 seconds or so, but otherwise it's Sloth still holding inside of Boiler. So Penta, we know where the focus is. It's going to be this electric drop, get control of Boiler, and then look to go for your push inside of the site. And here we go, making sure they're clearing out this wall towards the north side. Something we've seen a lot of teams do against teams like BDS to make sure that Shaiko can't play in this spot. But sadly, no one's playing there. They've already pulled their way back to playing behind Pillar rather than trying to be aggressive.
I think the Pillar player knows that Blaz is nearby, and how many damn magnets the Sloth has? I mean, they could surely be droning this out. I think this is a little bit of a misread into the situation here by Penta. They're not making sure that they're droning out some of this key utility. And Blaz is using entire Ash charges for Bar, but that's okay because he needs the zooming in. And un-ADS means Gorgona will take full advantage of a sprinting Ash. As we get under the 60-second mark here, Penta clearly want to make the entry, but they've lost one of the really big hitters there. They're going to have to get rid of Grizzly here. Surely, some way he doesn't 180 them, but yes, he does. And Ravan will fall to his arch nemesis. And oh no, this should not be happening this way.
A 3v3, Gorgona finds a second on that Jaeger playing hyper aggressive as well. You've got Grizzly just sat, daring him here to try and push forwards. Goes for the 180 again. This is disgusting, man. You've got two shields to play behind here, and you haven't quite won the second gunfight yet, but you're also not too far away. Tries to step out for the little pixel peek, can't quite find it. Where's the head going to appear from? Steps up and wins the fight. It's like trying to dance around a bush as you don't know which side they're going to pop out from, but sadly, that's 2 kills for Grizzly on this clash. He's got a slither of HP remaining, and try as Cactus might. Gorgona is going to collect the third. An interesting defense and quite an aggressive one from Cowana. Very rarely do you expect to find a Jaeger playing right in front of the drop in Electric, but hey, he makes it work, and they will collect round number 2.
I cannot believe that not only did he collect Ravan by doing a 180 or rather a 360 shield removal, but he also managed to play behind a shield as a shield with the SP-SMG9 and take out yet another player. I think that just goes to show that, I mean, usually we see Kayak on the clash, and there we go. Kayak will take the clash this time. Whether he 6 picks off or not is not really relevant, but I think the biggest thing is that Cowana know how to just make a team's life miserable on attack. They know how to stall them out for as long as possible. They know how to use the operator once their initial purpose has been wasted. And, you know, okay, you're in a 1vx situation. Okay, no problems. We know how to use the SP-SMG9, just like Carly, and we'll make it work. And now they'll go upstairs. This time they won't have the oppressive operator. But what really made it oppressive for Penta, I think, was all of those magnets, let's be honest.
I mean, you saw they lost a couple of bits of utility right at the start in construction. They had a frag grenade coming through, the impacts coming out of the Sophia. They had the breaching charge coming down tower stairs. There was just so much being caught out, really well placed by the side of Cowana, maybe not so well drawn by the side of Penta. By the way, that round is now in the past. We head ourselves back upstairs, and this time round we're going to see that Kaid sticking true. See that Wamai and the Jaeger coming out once again. Sloth has gone back to on the Jaeger. Grizzly this time round is playing on the Wamai. So there are a couple of changes being made, the flexing of these operators between both of the team, well, between these members of Cowana. We'll see if they can have a bit more success on the top floor this time round. Now they don't have the castle with them.
Just looking at the setup that they're trying to employ here, and it doesn't look like it's going to be too much of an extended hold. Sloth, as expected, won't be on site, but for the most part, it looks like they just want to turtle up and try and hold Penta off for as long as possible. Whether Sloth can have any of that impact is yet to be seen. And just looking at some of the rotates around, this is all really default, I'm going to be honest. Nothing here sticks out to me. I don't really think they're even going to extend out into trophy. And my thought process this time is that instead of them being able to open up that attic wall from inside trophy rather than the other way around, they'll be looking to hold that a little bit tighter than they have before.
The impression I get so far is that when Cowana are given quite a bit of space is where you tend to see them succeed. Look at last round, once Blaz managed to clear out the barbed wire on tower stairs, ran down and just killed Sloth for free. Look back in round number 1, when they pulled the go trigger, about 20 seconds left on this site, they just charged forward and found 2 or 3 kills for themselves very quickly, and yes, it came down to a 1v1, but it was still pretty close regardless. And it seems to be when you cause a bit of chaos for Cowana, that's when they look a little bit shaky. So the more pace we see coming out of Penta, the better this is going to work out for them, I feel.
They've actually utilized every single Selma on that wall, I believe, and as a result, they won't be able to get that attic wall open. Do I think this is a bit of a mistake? Heck, yes. Putting a Maverick on that wall over towards attic is not the play. You have full line of sight from over towards bunks, over towards top white. You wouldn't do it. No one would risk that kind of play. So now there's multiple Cowana players who are able to sit in attic. Is there a player going to be pressuring them? I don't see one over towards Big Tower, so there's no possibility. And now Penta will be one-dimensionally pushing. This is probably the weakest attack we've seen from them thus far.
Ooh. Grizzly's just dropped down through the hatch inside of attic as well, and might be now starting to think about sniffing up towards Armory Stairs. There is a drone. Does Alive know? Maybe he heard him. I'm not too sure. He does have the idea, but Kayak upstairs is going to find one. He does, and that's now going to force him to back away, being sprayed out through the soft wall. But shall not find himself going down. So good attempt by Grizzly, but also great cover coming out of Alive. Cover that was needed, because with 60 seconds left in the round, there is not a single drone left on the field for Penta.
Oh no, there must be a drone in small tower giving Sloth's position away. I saw a yellow ping for a split second, and now enemy is trying to watch it. He's trying to watch double window and the small tower. That's a lot for one man to do. And as you get into the 30-second mark, if Sloth doesn't do this soon, he has wasted a heck of a lot of time, which is very important.
When does he hit the go button is the big question here. The more that time runs down again, the more pressure that sits on the side of Penta, the more they've got to make something happen. An enemy now is starting to look towards big window. He's got the call coming out, no doubt. This is going to happen. Swings out and will find the kill at the same time. Enemy did swing round in time, but can't quite hit the shots. Ravan's going to find another, and now Sloth needs to get back to side pretty rapido. But Gorgona steps up big on the Maestro. Finds one, finds a second. Can he find the next? Wrong spot, buddy. He's around to your right-hand side, but there we go. Sloth, as I mentioned, swinging back round to join his team. Gets the closing kill. Great round by Cowana.
That should just not have been allowed to happen in any way, shape or form, especially with the fact that enemy knew he was there. I saw when Sloth had been trying to decide which window that there was a yellow ping there from Penta. I'm not sure who had applied that. There was a drone somewhere. But for the most part, I thought to myself, God, either you deal with it early or you accept your fate and you just commit to double window early and quick so that Sloth can't have any impact. Sloth gets to have impact twice in that round, and as a result, you're just getting walked all over. I did think the one-dimensional a push from Penta was their weakness. Whether or not that was their true weakness there, I'm not sure. We were focused on double window for quite a while, but now they're going to get rid of that Maverick. This is the right play. They always have this composition, and they almost always won't use the Maverick unless they see fit. And they've not really used it yet. So I think it's a bit of a waste of an operator so far.
Let's not forget in that last map they had the ace banned away against them by Cowana. Here, if it being available, we have seen Cactus run it every single round so far. It's no change here coming into round number 4. And Cowana, dare I say, uncharacteristically, air quotes, have even dropped the Kaid here, sorry, away from Kayak playing on that. He's now playing on the Wamai instead. As Grizzly is back onto that clash with the smoke and the Goyo being brought along by Gorgona. So again, even more utility and denial being thrown up in Penta's face here with an attempt to try and run that clock down as close to 0 as they can to force some mistakes out of Penta and enable plays like we saw in the last round with Sloth jumping out a small tower window.
Very interesting to me. The only impacts they have are in the hands of Grizzlies. And in order for him to be able to use it, he needs to unshield himself, which puts himself in a heck of a lot of danger as well. So I don't know if he's going to hide behind cabinet first, deploy both of those impacts and shield. Yes, he will. And then there's no real other operators that have impacts, I don't believe, on any of the other side of Cowana. So they won't be able to help him out keeping this wall closed. A bit interesting that they've only put 2 impacts on this lineup. Everyone knows you should always try and, delay that power position for as long as possible.
Rightio, we'll see how much time they can waste. You always speak, as you said, about this shower hole and how much time you can waste with the impacts. We'll see if they can be a thing here. I'm more concerned about the fact that with Blaz here, we've already done a couple of rounds where he's just swung very aggressively and found these critical kills. And with the great drone inside of sight, they have all the info in the world to know what's going on. There comes impact number 1. They connect onto the exothermic. And guess what, boys? You don't have too many of those. In fact, the next one is going to get committed in towards the dining wall. That should get opened up relatively soon, as now that the impacts have been expunged, they will be able to get open showers at the same time. And there comes that initial swing from Blaz, either being contested immediately by the Clash.
Blaz is trying to flash the Clash, and I know a little bit of a rhyme zone here, and only thing that will do is just blind him momentarily. He doesn't have to do much else, and he can just sit there quite safely. Problem is, you're at the halfway mark. You don't really have everything you need to deal with it. Where's Ravan at the moment?
Wow.
I'm not sure. And Blaz goes down, so there's the rest of his flashes gone. Ravan is the only one who can really deal with Clash right now, and they haven't been successful with the Clash so far. So I want to see them commit to it, and instead they're going to deal with the shield. This seems like a very one-dimensional 1v1 kind of play. It's not how you want to be pushing.
Sloth inside of Shower's going to find one, almost collects onto Alive as well. Kayak twice now has pushed aggressively away from the shield up the corridor. The first time he found a kill because Alive was on a drone. He was not watching the window to the south and managed to connect onto it all too easy. An enemy just being zapped to what little life he has got left inside him. Unfortunately, Grizzly can't go too aggressive here. If he does, he could get shot down from the tower stairs. Going to try and rotate his way around instead and see what he can collect. But this is a 2 versus 3 for the side of Penta. Make it a 3 versus 3. His enemy will be successfully recovered. That Smokey giving all the cover they could ever possibly want. Back on his feet now. They're surely in a spot where they can start thinking, this is our time to make something happen. Enemy, though, is at great risk of being zapped out, so he's going to have to push quite aggressively here. Going to vault himself inside of Showers. Look round to the Kayak, who I believe is still holding at the end of Shower corridor. He's ready and waiting. Surely, you almost see the angle. Not quite spotting out the player. And we'll be able to walk away alive for a couple more seconds. Now, Kayak's going to see, go for the spray, connect nothing. 10 seconds on the clock. Penta need to push now. No more mistakes allowed. It's got to happen absolutely right now. Alive being zapped out, going in for the plant. That Cactus being sprayed down from afar, and this should be all too easy for Grizzly to come in, pop off the headshot, and that'll be another round coming up for Cowana. Time wasted, tick in the box.
Unfortunate there for Penta. They had everything they needed. Double hard breach, walls open quite early. They just couldn't work out how to deal with the Clash. And I don't want to say that teams should necessarily always be able to deal with the Clash. Sometimes you can deal with all the other players and kind of leave it as you would leave a Monty on attack, for example, and just say, okay, it's there. Try not to look at it. Try and deal with the other players, and we'll deal with it at the end if we have to. They're just not dealing with it at all. So it feels like Cowana are just completely pulling apart any attack strategies Penta has by throwing one oppressive operator in the mix, and then Penta goes, geez, we can't deal with it. We're not using our concussions towards him, and they're not almost doing anything towards him, and they're keeping the same lineup no matter what. This time, no Thermite, they'll go back to the Maverick, and the only thing they've got to deal with it is Ravan, really. You can't really say that Alive is a counter with the air jabs because you're not going to commit that to a Clash. But if they get desperate, they're going to have to because they don't have Capital, they haven't brought anything else to mix things up, and this has been their huge weakness.
All about the time waste. Keep on touching on it. It's worked wonders for them so far. And Cowana, play so far today has been electric, as is their operator selection. Once more, the Kaid and the Clash coming back to the fore. On the downstairs, what we need to see really change for the other side here. I mean, to give it to Penta, they did a pretty good job of getting control of tower stairs. A pretty good job of clearing out the wall inside of electric at the same time. So they had the right things going for them. They just wasted a hell of a lot of utility in the process because of what was going on with the Wamai. Grizzly going for the same strategy once again. Why fix what ain't broken?
Oh, this is just a horrible bit of Groundhog Day for Penta. They're going, yeah, I've seen this before, and this time I'll know how to deal with it, surely, some way, somehow. You can see that Ravan, you can tell that he's telling his teammates, I have what we need, I have the tools we need to deal with this operator, but we need to coordinate ourselves to make it worthwhile. You've only got 2 concussions, you've got a heck of a lot of magnets around Grizzly to protect him. This is a highly fortified position that Grizzly is playing, and he has an entire shield in front of his face too. So there's a lot of things Penta has to deal with here. It looks like top floor is their play to begin with, and now they'll need enemy on the Maverick to get rid of this hatch. Grizzly is right up holding Blaz off from being able to get the back stairs, and now he's rotating back to blue. It seems like he just can read into this situation so well, Des.
The calls going back and forth between the players as well, no doubt exemplary in saying, look, we need to have someone here, rotate over here, look to give us some information there, because let's not forget as well, the Clash is, for the most part, a drone for the defenders. You've got a wonderful shield in front of your face. You can't be killed and shot through. There are worlds in which with the Sophia, for example, or a unlucky frag grenade, you can kill off the Clash, but most of the time, when there aren't those operators around, you're in a pretty safe spot and don't need to have too much to worry about. I like that he's playing here, because last time was when Blaz came charging down these stairs and killed Sloth. Then it's making sure he's in a really good power position from here to be able to contest inside of Electric when someone comes to the drop in. Again, this wall open up to the north again, which will mean Drizzly won't be as safe pushing through here. He's going to have to stare at that wall every time that he walks past. And I think they managed to spray it off the wall actually as well, so that still won't get opened up.
A little vault hole does get opened up, and enemy he manages to catch Sloth somehow, some way. No more magnets available. They've all been cooked out, and Penta finally have worked out. You've got to cook those pieces of utility first if you want to deal with them. No air jabs in Alive's hand, so he can't help out here with the clash. Instead, they're just kind of using it as a little bit of nuisance. Can Alive run in and melee him? There's someone right behind him on a shield that they haven't dealt with as well, and they're going to have to use even more of those projectiles to deal with some of those flashes, or rather those magnets and ADSs, and oh no, this is all very messy.
Oh, Gorgona goes hyper aggressive again onto Electric Jaw, but shut down. It's a 4 versus 2 for Penta, 30 seconds to play with. It's a lot of time, and it's down to Anarchic and Grizzly here. They can feed information back and forth to one another, but I'm concerned if they've got the firepower here to stack up against these members of Penta who are going to try and cause some trouble. Another smoke comes out, so look at the time being wasted. Anarchic's looking to find what angle he can, but needs to be so wary of these players out to his right-hand side. He's a one-man army at this point. Will find one for himself. 12 seconds to go. Who's going to push and contest? There is no one outside in construction, but this plant is going down, and sadly with no smokes left, he has no method of which to deny. Penta will find their second round on the attack.
Another really good push there from Penta. My worry is that they didn't really have that pinch pressure. Blaz on the back stairs and then someone trying to push in from blue. Ravan did initially make it look like he'd do that with Blaz, and then he had to rotate away, get some drones out. So you could tell that Penta had a plan in place. They wanted to get that hatch open, and they did, and enemy eventually rotated up there to get it open. Alive had some of those flanks on lockdown, and so things were looking pretty good for Penta, and getting some of those opening kills really helped out. We missed how Ravan got the clash, but probably didn't matter with that kind of number deficit that you've got. You've got to look 100 different ways. That's really difficult to work with. They're going to try it again, this time without the clash. This time they'll probably put a mirror on elbow and have a shield there as well. That double reinforcement of that particular area means that Penta, if they don't work with all of these magnets and ADSs, they will not have enough utility to deal with that.
I was going to say I'm really curious where the second one goes, but I think Gorgona is already answering that question for me. Looks like it might go on Freezer unless he double reinforces it. No, he will not. So I'm pretty sure on that wall we're going to see a mirror coming through. Either one, as you say, we'll likely see looking out towards elbow, or that single wall in the top left corner of supply could also be the one. Given in fact all of that has been shotgunned out, which team did this? There was a team that did this where they had a mirror window on this wall when it was soft and just kept standing up and spraying over it, and I really, for the life of me, can't remember who it was.
I can't either, but I do remember some kind of setup there. I've actually seen it a few times, so I'm not entirely sure who did that. But for the most part, it doesn't always work. And when it does work, it's one of those Hail Mary kind of, I'm in a really hectic position here. And a soft wall there isn't often the play. That's interesting. He'll put a hard mirror there, and that's purely for line of sight. My understanding is that that will feed yellow pings to the Pillars player and pretty much nothing else. And it also means that if they do Selmer it, that they're going to have a bit of trouble trying to get in and getting that kind of line of sight there. They'll just still have a line of sight back onto them. But for the most part, it's for intel.
Grizzly's a player on this map that I remember playing Goyo an awful lot, actually. And whenever I've seen him roam, normally he roams up Big Tower and is always late retreating back to site, gets himself caught out sometimes, or very narrowly retains his life, and it's always something I've been critical of. But here, he's playing out towards Freezer instead, rather than playing more aggressively in towards Big Tower. I say that, and he's now looking to cause a bit of chaos, running up and down, it seems. So maybe he is going to be one of these late-round impacts coming out of a Goyo. It's not really the operator you think of when you think of a roam player, but that C4 has been pre-placed somewhere. Where has that been used? Either way, it is down and deployed. I'm keen to know when the call comes through. We'll see, no doubt, what kill comes out of it, but that is going to be set up somewhere.
Yeah, he already opened up that attic rotate. I actually thought he might open up the hatch with it, but instead he made a rotate above. So now they're all being very clearly communicating with each other that they don't have an air jab to waste in that. Grizzly does make an impact, and that's onto the Maverick. That is huge. I would have said huge if they had kept playing the Kaid, but they don't continue the Kaid on this particular setup, and as a result, taking out the Maverick doesn't really mean the whole world. They've still got a few summers to work with here. And they're going to deploy that on the hatch to open it up. He was midway through his Maverick, so of course he got caught out, no gun in hand. And they'll still have one more Selma to be able to open up the wall. The critical part is you cannot let Sloth shoot it off. The smoke will not stop the bullets. And it's actually already being used on blue, I think.
Well, they're in a spot here where you've had such limited options left that there's no one to help you get the north side of Electric open, no one to help you get rid of the mirror windows. There's just a lot playing against you here without enough of those hard destructions left alive. With the Maverick gone, the grenades also disappear. Very critical element for helping burn through utility. Cactus is going to rotate upstairs and find Grizzlies. He tries to cause some trouble. Anarchic strikes big and finds one, but apparently Blaz has no idea where he's looking, no idea what time of day it is. Gorgona tells him it's 12 o'clock and you are dead at midday. Goodbye, he says. 3 versus 2 for Cowana. Cactus and Ravana got it all to do here. If they can find themselves 3 rounds on the attack, this will be wonderful. But 4 and 2, no doubt, is what Cowana are looking for. Cactus finds another, and that is North control in their favor. They don't have control over the mirror window, but equally, I don't think any players from Cowana are playing close enough here to give them any trouble, given the angles that have been opened up through Electric. Another smoke rings out. We're down to 15 seconds. Anarchic being sprayed out knows now that 1 is in Electric. 1 looking to push him off to his right-hand side. Both have now rotated out towards Electric, and this execute has got to be timely. Kayak springs up and finds 1. Can he come round for the next? Finishes off the last. All too easy for Cowana in the ending stages of that round. But Penta have come pretty close to taking 3 attacking rounds there. Fair to say, Oregon looks much better than what it did back on Clubhouse.
You're saying it looks much better, but unfortunately it's not enough. You are asking to be a team to get propelled up either against Rogue or take that auto relegation spot from Chaos. What we're seeing here today is not good enough for that. Is it good enough in Cavana's eyes and what they're putting out? Probably. But they're also going up against a team that is leaving a lot to be desired, which is an absolute shame. Penta had their season, their group stages, and they just absolutely decimated most of these teams. They did have a little bit of, trouble against Cowana on Cafe, and fair enough, Cowana stood up that day, and they tried to put a lot against what Penta was throwing at them. But for me, in this particular matchup, I'm not seeing the Penta I saw in the group stages. Simple things like both mirrors are staying up in that round. Smokes are being able to be kept right up until the last 20 seconds. I mean, those kinds of things is something, I get it. You lost your Maverick early. That's a bit of a sucker. That's what happens. But you got to deal with them better. You have to be able to throw back at your opponents what they're throwing at you. And Penta aren't doing that. And now they're on defense. They have to win all of these rounds, or rather most of them, if they have any chance of bringing it to a third map.
Downstairs we start. And you thinking about that third map, Villa's the one that awaits. Whenever I hear Villa, I don't really care which team it is. I always say that map name with a little bit of trepidation in my voice, because I'm just like, you just don't know which way it's going to go half the time. It's one of those maps that's so massive that Romans can have an absolute field day, but well-coordinated teams can absolutely dominate on it at the same time. I really struggle to call which way Villa will go if we get there, assuming Cowana can't close this out in 3 rounds here in the second half. And let's not forget, as always, there's that prospect of overtime to consider too.
Looks like Cactus wants to have a big impact here on this starting round. I thought Grizzly hit that shot, but he did not, and Cactus gets away unscathed. And that's 30 seconds into the round, and they're already seeing that Penta is wanting to throw a lot of aggressiveness back at them. Blaz has not had the best first half, and as someone who usually hits big, then I think he's kind of feeling the pinch. So he's been put on flex roll here for this particular site. We'll see whether or not that pays off for him. Grizzly's going to have to take a little bit of HP to get those halves of the hatches that he'd need to open it up with the Maverick Torch. And for the most part, things are a little quiet other than those first gunshots being propelled out by Cactus. And they'll look to work these hatches, look to get some of these walls open. This makes me think, Des, is this going to be a full freezer and front play? For the most part, we haven't seen this work a lot.
I mean, Freezer was where I think Cowana had an inkling Penta were going to push from in the last round of the first half, when they had a mirror window set up down there, and I was like, okay, there's a lot going on down here. They're expecting a Tate to go through Freezer and Laundry. Historically, when I think about it, most of those attacks don't work out. You can see why most teams tend to capitalize on taking control of Bunker, getting inside a boiler, and then going for a push from there. Because for so many trying to push down through Laundry, one, you're walking through a single double doorway and the hatch offers you no assistance. Trying to get through Freezer, you can't really protect your hard breach on the wall if you're trying to get through Freezer wall, because more often than not, there is a player behind a shield playing at the top side of Freezer. It's just really hard to push your way through. So no surprises at all. Cowana are putting their focus on the north side towards this hatch. Ravan to pick up Sloth nice and early. And that was a right run up L as well. Looking out in towards construction, freest kill he'll ever collect.
Yet again, another opportunity of swing or be swung. He ascertained that Sloth was trying to cook some of those magnets, and Gorgona was on the drone instead of holding a crossfire with him. Was that the wrong decision? No, not necessarily. They were trying to gain intel. You never expect someone to get off their shield and push so aggressively far up. Looked like Ravan had enough of this round. That was a beautifully cooked grenade, and this is the entry that Cowana wanted. 30 seconds left, but it may as well be a minute because they're making good time.
One in Freezer as well, but the angle is Cactus's for the win. He finds one, Blaz another, and like that, rather than being a 4 versus 3, it's a 3 versus 2 for Penta. Gorgona and Kayak have got a lot of work to do if they want to try and make this plant work. They are inside of sight, and Kayak is going to think about it. He's going to try and commit this plant down right now, but sadly, he won't be able to stick it. Cactus collects another kill, and Gorgona, try as he might, bring it down alive, will be finished off by Cactus, who has a 3k in that round. Good start for Penta on their defense.
Oh, my heart dropped a little bit when I realized the plant was going off right in the corner instead of on the doorway. I thought to myself, that can be seen from Freezer. That absolutely can be seen from Freezer. And even if you've got that elbow presence, unless they take a deep angle, you can't see that angle that Cactus had over towards the default plant. So you have to think, where can I be seen from if I take this plant right now? I could be seen from Freezer in a cross angle. Okay, I need to replace myself. That possibly could have gone a different way had that plan have gone off in a different position. And that's why we say Siege sometimes is a game of mere centimeters, mere millimeters.
One of those old sayings that I used to say an awful lot. I think every single Nordic Championship broadcast, and I swear to God, Snorreleif must have got sick and tired of it towards the end. Always saying it's one of those games where you can literally play the strategy perfect, but if you don't hit the shots, you're going to lose the round. It's as simple as that. The strategy side of things is more the influence on whether or not those fights are favorable. Is the clock on your side? Are you blind at the time you push? Are you severely hindered when you go for those gunfights? But ultimately, it is still an FPS game. You need to be able to click on heads at the right moment. Either way, Cowana at 4 and 3. Penta on the defense, mind you, probably in a more commanding position, you would argue. Another round, they bring things all square at 4 apiece with still a few more defensive rounds to go. Nothing really worth crying about there too much if you're Penta. But for Cowana, I had a chat to the boys between these two maps, and they were like, mate, we're absolutely fine now. We're in really high spirits. It's not a problem. We think they're on the ropes. Penta are showing signs of recovery, and that gives me something to worry about. The best thing is, it's not Blaz, the player that we normally shout about being on the recovery. It's the other two players that we alluded to earlier on. It's Cactus, it's Ravan. 9 and 8 kills apiece so far. They are doing absolute work for Penta.
Well, I kind of coined here in my notes that Cowana was the dark horse going into this matchup, and rightfully so. Penta should be walking away with this quite easily, quite clearly, if predictions or statistics have anything to say to it. But predictions and statistics don't mean a load of anything, and I was going to say a very bad word that only Hap says on broadcast, but they don't mean anything if you can't perform on game day. Penta have come into this matchup. In first map, it looked like they were just overthinking. In this second map here, they're just getting taken advantage of in a few of those gunfights. And I think that's one of those areas. And of course, misuse of their utility on attack has led them to lose round after round. So they are bringing it back. But after an entry kill like that onto Blaz, I'm thinking Cowana, their momentum, it's not hindered them whatsoever.
Economy is also making use of the Kaid here. It's not just restricted to Cowana to be their tool that they use that no one else chooses to copy. Should offer them a good chunk of denial, because you think about the fact that you have one impacts to play behind, but also the Kaid Electro Claws. That's a lot to work for you. We're going to drop this one out at the same time that we're going to see an attempt come through, and this wall will be kept closed, at least for now. But since Sloth has got this downstairs setup, enemy is going to struggle, I think, to make anything happen, and this wall should be opened up for free and easy. Wardrobe will be opened up about 90 seconds into the round. Good start for Cowana on the attack.
Well, they'll make the wall soft by doing that trick we spoke about before. C4 rains out from enemy but won't collect anyone. And Sloth, he'll lose a bit of a tick of HP, but I don't think that is a detriment to him whatsoever. And finally, he'll start to rain out some of those flash grenades so that he can get rid of some of those magnets. But as you get down to the 60-second mark, are Cowana in a more commanding position than Penta are right now? Probably not. It looks like they do want to get that out of control, so it's a bit of a pinch push onto site. Is there a rotate still in bedroom? Yes, there is. So for Penta right now, this can look good for them if they can win some of their gunfights. And Ravan says, I can't do that, Jess. I'm going to give them the entry anyway.
They find themselves yet another kill. 5 versus 3, 35 seconds to go. Always keeping a very close eye on that clock. You know what I'm like? Kind of stickler for time. Sometimes it depends on which day of the week it is. Grenade comes singing through, connecting onto Cactus, takes him down about half HP, but not enough to finish him off. And they're going to try and challenge here against the Elder. It's not really a gun you want to come up in a firefight against, especially when it's often swinging at full speed. But look how close the angle is here. Both sides holding it down, yet no one yet being finished off. A couple of bullets could be enough to put Cactus in the dirt here as enemy almost gets finished off, and there will be a trade coming through. 4 versus 2, and a plant is finally going down. Alive is put in the dirt. Cactus all by himself has got a lot of work to do here. For the swing onto the window, we'll find one, but the fuser is down. What a flick onto the head of Anarchic there as he peeks his way through Big in a spot where he could potentially keep this one going, but I think he wants to get his last man up here to turn it into a 2 versus 2. It's not a bad shout with 30 seconds left on the clock, but that leaves them with about 20 seconds to get both kills and stick the defuse here. Kayak's going to peek around the corner, needs to be so wary. Round he comes, but they're ready to collect those final couple of kills out. Cowana holding the aggressive spots are going to find round number 8 and put them at 5 rounds here in Oregon.
Even if you pick your teammate up, Cowana are way too ready for you there. I said they needed to get the frags and stop them from that impending push for the default plant. A little bit of my worry comes down to the fact that there was also no underneath pressure. When the Ash came in and dealt with that Kaid from below on the wall of closet, I thought to myself, okay, no one's challenging below, that's fine. You don't want to lose your life early, no problems. There was also no C4 presence underneath from Penta. A lot of their one-dimensionalness that we're seeing has translated from attack over to defense, which is not what you want to see. I would have expected maybe some vertical holes or some opportunity for them to play the site in a more three-dimensional fashion, but it just left them into gunfights, and Cowana are just walking all over them in the mechanical department.
That was our fear back on Club. We were like, okay, when are you boys going to wake up? When is something going to start happening? And even now, it's only Cactus and Ravar that are making things happen to date. And Alive playing on the Jaeger's worth touching on as well. Blad's the player that you normally see playing on that Ash Jaeger role, the more aggressive roamer here. Alive, he's the one trying to make it happen. Not really done so far. So I'm curious to know what the decision making is behind that. When you've got a Maestro on site who can also click heads for free, why not look to play behind that at the same time? It does mean that for Cowana, at the very least, they are in a commanding spot. They are 2 rounds away from being one of those teams to go to the finals in December and have a spot either at auto promotion against the winner of our next matchup, or they face against Rogue for that 9th place position. And I know everyone's kind of looking at Rogue and saying, man, they went 0-9 in stage 2. They're the freest win ever. I'm convinced that with the break they've got coming up, you do not want to be one of these Challenger League teams that has to face up against Rogue in December. Something tells me they're going to come out all gate swinging. They'll be ready for 2021 even, sorry. 2020 clearly is not in my mind at the minute. It's been a write-off, except for some of these teams and how they've been having things going for them so far. But this is big. This is huge. Penta, a team that have been denied almost twice now. And Cowana is the dark horses that came through the open qualifiers are about to snatch that spot away from them.
Good read into the situation there, but no damage dealt, and I thought that might actually catch whoever was playing at the top of white there. Oh, enemy, you got your revenge there, but Grizzly's going to collect Kayak as well. It's a bit of a team kill we hadn't seen yet, but Cowana collects themselves, and somehow in under 1 minute the plant begins, and it will be stopped.
Oh my god, Anarchic finds a second though. Even with the team kill coming through and that scrappy start to this execute, Cowana have brought things back to a 2 versus 2. Cactus once again playing on this Maestro. You need to be fearful of him. We've seen what enemy can do in a couple of rounds so far on this map. Has it been hyper consistent? No, but it has been enough to get some rounds over the board. They do not want to go down to match point here, and Cowana with limited intel, this is the chance for Penta to strike. With it being 1 minute 45, mind you, Jess, there is still so much time left in this round that really Cowana can rethink their entire approach to this site if they want to.
Well, they have no drones, as you said, so I really don't think without the intel they're going to be in a positive position here. If they hit shots, sure, and Penta have been missing theirs, that's all this is going to come down to as they make their entry.
C4 comes singing out, not even going to try and shoot it. Gorgona just turns tail and runs. Quite literally the definition of a fight or flight reflex. In this case, it's going to be flight for the side of Cowana as they run away from this round. Penta will bring things a little bit closer, bringing us up to 5 and 4.
Slowly creeping their way back, and this is what I want from Penta. I am begging Penta, please just propel yourselves onto match point, get yourselves this map win so we can throw you all onto Villa and we can really see who's the better team. Because when you get to the 3rd map, you get to the deciding map, that shows who is the better team overall, holistically, and it's meant to. Best of 3, best of 5s, that's what you're meant to be able to do. You might have a really weak map like Clubhouse, but then you get onto other maps and you really show your strength. I think Hap said it on the desk, and maybe Fluke, she said it as well, but they said that they hadn't really seen anything from Penta yet. That was their sort of preface for this matchup. I'll tell you what, I'm not seeing much from Penta at the moment. We're not seeing the Penta we saw in the group stages, and if that was the better Penta then, and we're not seeing it now, what has changed between then and now? Is it the pressure? Did they try and re-strat? Did they try and re-roll some players? Whatever it's been, or is it just Cowana are just literally the better team here today because they've been walking away with way more rounds than Penta has?
I think from all the series that you and I have ever watched over the years, Jess, the one thing that you can always, can never write off is the potential swing for momentum mid-series. In fact, I'm even dragged back to 6 Invitational earlier this year.
Oh, yeah.
All dying for the day we get back to a LAN. Wonderful example in the finals of SSG and NIP just completely swinging back the other way mid-series. You could almost see it happen in Clubhouse in the middle of that match, just how the momentum suddenly clicked, and it was SSG in control from there. These things can happen. If this game ends up going to Penta, it could very well be that the momentum swing is then in full effect and Penta are the ones to take it away. But for Cowana, again, one more round guarantees you at least overtime, and putting yourself with that little safety net of knowing, look, even if the 2 rounds have to go against us, we're in a spot to play overtime. That could be massive for them.
Well, Sloth is on the Ashe this time, and he's going to give him the opportunity to make some very quick entries if he wants to, just as we'd see Blaz do on the Ashe as well. Unfortunately, Blaz, again, we've got to say that he hasn't really had the best matchup. Do you think this is what's limited Penta a little bit? Because usually we'll see Blaz step up and do big, and we've not really seen the big Blaz we're used to.
Yeah, it's been quiet, absolutely. I mean, looking across the team as well, Cactus and Ravana are the ones stepping up. Most of the season, as I mentioned, it's been Alive, it's been Ravana, it's been Blaz, this trio of terror that have been running through CL and downing fools no matter where they may stand. I mean, in this game, it's been a bit of a different story. Alive has been very, very quiet. Blaz, equally very quiet. But this is the wonderful thing about this modern day of Siege is that every single player in the team should be able to step up. And speaking of Alive, he's going to pick up the one big X factor that Cowana have had so far. It's going to be Sloth going down to start out the round.
Yeah, great pick on the Sloth there. We've seen him have a lot of really big hits when he was on Clubhouse. He's playing the Zofia for the most half on attack, and he made entries look damn easy. This time Alive says, no, we've worked you out. We know what you like to do. We know you like to jump on and off a drone and work out our position in pre-fire, and we know exactly how to pre-fire back. Now that you've got a numbers advantage and you know kind of where the push is coming from, you can ascertain the fact that they've opened up freezer hatch. You can work out that it should be predominantly a freezer push with maybe some main stairs presence as well. I don't particularly like this push. I think it's hyper one-dimensional and relies solely on mechanical skill. But when you're Cowana, you've been winning a lot of those gunfights, you can kind of risk it.
It always makes me super uncomfortable. I mentioned it earlier on that you struggle to get any pressure inside a freezer because the player, which is exactly where Cactus is playing now, will just hold that longer angle, contest you no matter where you may try and push, and otherwise it's a double doorway to try and get your way through. Grizzly gets the long shot though, as Cactus isn't here to be able to swing onto it after finding a kill previously. It's a 4 versus 3, very little intel available for the side of Cowana, so I think I'm with you here, Jess. This is all going to come down to mechanical skill. They're trying to push their way around, but how do you whiff shots like that one, Grizzly? Cactus should be dead to rights, but instead he holds firm. Blaz to collect the final 2 kills, and Penta will draw things square in round 10. We are at 5 apiece. And did anyone say overtime? I think I just heard that on the way.
It's either overtime or a map win. This next round will really solidify in my mind which team has the momentum in their side. If you're Cowana, that particular push I don't think meshed with Penta's particular setup. It relied on a lot of 1v1 gunfights that didn't necessarily need to be taken. And as a result, Penta really just pulled that apart. And we're finally getting those snippets of greatness from Penta here now. Is it too late? Nah, never too late. As long as you're not on, overtime, match point, things are never too late. They're in the clear for now. They win the next 2 rounds, boom. We are flown into Villa. We are given an opportunity to see which team is going to make it to the grand finals. And you and I were talking before this matchup. These semi-finals are not only important for every single player in the lobby right now, their coaches, their support staff, their organizations, and everyone beyond, but it's important because no matter which position you sit at, first or second, you have an opportunity to make tier 1. You're either going to be propelled in there without any fight whatsoever, or you can go up against a weakened rogue and say, yeah, we have a real big shot here of being tier 1 players and then spending an entire year in EUL. That's the new layout. That's the new format. That's a huge step up from tier 2, let's be honest. That's like the big boys area, and skin share as well. Hello?
Yeah, the real big sad part, I guess, is that, of course, if you don't make it, you're waiting until next year to play in CL for your second shot too. So it will be a good time to go back and prep and train and get yourself up to a level and a standard where you feel you can come back and win next year. Again, this is Penta's second swing of the bat. For Cowana, it's a bit of a different story, given they are, once again, the dark horses coming in. Let's see how this side sets up. Small tower going to be where Cowana start off their assault. Very common to take the above control, open up the wall from above so you can threaten inside of dining. Otherwise, it's a very atypical shower hold coming out of Penta here with that Maestro playing present. With those impacts on side, good and ready to go.
You don't want to be Penta and push it to a third time lucky. You want to do it now. You've had such a good group season. Make sure that you do it in the playoffs as well. I like this particular hold, and how many impacts do they have to their name? Can our beautiful observer just flash that up for me? 1, 2, 3, 4, way better than Cowana had in their shower hold. Can they hold off this wall for as long as possible? They've actually decided to put an entire rotate into dining. Cowana reinforced that off. I'm not sure what the thought process is by reinforcing it off, because you do still need a line of sight onto that entry from small tower, and they will ash that hole open, but I don't think it's particularly going to do much. And wow, this is a beautiful drawing. I didn't know Grizzly was such an artist.
Well, I guess in his mind, it's like, well, if this is the only wall I need to get open, then I can take my sweet time with it at the top first, down the right, down the left a little bit, all the bottom, but it does give you this lovely big square. The same effect as what you'd have if you were looking to get this open with something like a thermite. And without a reinforcement to commit to this single wall, that's a mirror wall gone. So for now, they're not even bothering to look to what... Okay, they've got away with it. Is it the vertical control coming through into shower? I think it might actually be here. Yes, it is. They must not have had the top one reinforced or been mindful of the fact that a small part of it at the top would have been open in which you can spray through. Some teams do reinforce just the left one here and think that's enough, but you've got to be so mindful of those vertical angles, and clearly contested, they lose almost everything. Sloth finds his second of the round, and this is all going Cavana's way. They're in a spot to move up to match point right here, and clearly this is not the site for Penta. All control coming through with just 2 members left alive. Showers is on their slide. Sloth is going to end up smoking around and trying to push aggressively, but no peek coming out from the side of Cactus. He's just sat down and waiting behind the shield for that ever so important moment to come through when Sloth will finally appear in. Drones coming out as well. They know where one is. Surely they know the second is inside a kitchen, and this should be easy for Cowana. They've got the information they need. They can make the play happen. Smokes are coming out, and now comes execution time. Coyote going for the plant, and can a live creep in here and cause some damage. Going to step forward and 5-1, but someone's on the door. Cowana brings it down, and they are knocking on the door of that shot at EUL. Penta, you need to win this round to go through to overtime, else Cowana will progress to the EU finals in December.
You asked about what happened in showers, and it's a little trick that I'd recently seen. I don't know if I saw it on Reddit or Twitter. It doesn't really matter what medium, but it's where you open up a bit of vertical in small tower, lay down with Maverick, and blowtorch the top corner of the reinforcement so that no one can hide behind locker. It's really, really smart. I would love to credit whoever posted it, and if you're watching right now and you know exactly who it is, pop their name in chat. I don't have their name readily available, but whoever threw that up, that was a brilliant adaptation to one of the biggest power positions that has existed on the site since its reiteration, and to deal with it in that way, shape, or form is just easy. It's as easy as pie. You open up the top corner, boom. All of a sudden, no one can sit in that power position. It was a really good read. Cowana know this map. It's quite clear.
Oh, that makes it tough, because this is the map that Penta chose, let's not forget. They wanted to come here. And they're in a spot where they're about to lose 2-0. The first one, understandably, not your map and also not a good map for you. This one, a map where you'd expect to be a little bit stronger. They're being held hostage here by Cowana for that match point, and now it depends on what happens in this final round. Do we see overtime, or do we see that sweet, sweet 2-0 come through for Cowana and the heartbreak that ensues for the side of Penta?
Penta has such a phenomenal win rate on this map that if you were to pick a map and feel confident that you should beat your opponent, it is this one. And so if you don't win it, it would not be unbeknownst, or rather inappropriate of me to say that you were the worst team that day. Fair and square, you lost on your best map, you lost on your worst map, you lost in a best of 3, you lost in an overtime format. There is nothing else you can do other than admit defeat in that scenario, I think.
I am mildly curious as well that we've gone to kitchen and meeting here, rather than going back to Kid Storms, where we've seen Penta win twice. They lost once, but they've gone back to it again. In fact, no, sorry, they won it once. They more won the attack on it earlier on. My notes clearly not very well coloured. As it sets up, they chose to go to kitchen and meeting. This is going to be a bit of a new ground for both teams. We haven't seen it played in this entire matchup so far. It's been kitchen and dining, otherwise been the basement or the second floor. So I'm keen to see, one, what the approach is for Cowana, and also what Penta bring to the party, given they have both Alive on the Kaid and the castle coming along. There's clearly a lot of denial setup coming in here, with Cactus also joining on the mute.
Oh, well, there we go. Bit of an entry. An unexpected entry there, and Alive is down as well. Will that Ash charge connect? No, it won't. As a result, he'll stay in a DBNO state. Sloth, he seems edgy, he seems twitchy, he wants in, he wants to confirm that kill, but he is aware that someone is playing over in bunks. Cowana, they clearly want this win, and is there a rotate there? Yes, there is, but Sloth doesn't care.
Oh, Sloth doesn't care. He's going where he pleases here. He's ready at the back. Cactus tries to challenge, but Sloth hits the crucial shots. 5 versus 2. It all comes down to Ravan and enemy. We have sung Ravan's praises all season long on the work that he has done, but this is the time when you are needed most, and you have got the operator to do it. Playing on the Jaeger, holding out downstairs. They know that they're playing around on the top floor right now. He even sees the gun, but doesn't see the man holding it. Won't be able to connect the shots, and with that sledgehammer swinging into the floor, he knows it's time to back away and hold tight for just a little longer. 60 seconds remain here. 5 versus 2. It's a 5 versus 1. Is this it? Is the death bell ringing for Penta right here? It's a 1 versus 5. Ace or bust. It's all to come for himself. Anaki's holding close and he sees him. It's a flawless round. Cowana are going to make it to the EU finals as they bring down Penta in a matchup that no one would have expected. The 4th place Group B team will bring down their rivals and proceed to those finals.
Second time was not the charm for Penta, and, well, whether or not they choose to stay together after this and make it a 3rd time lucky come 2021 is yet to be seen, but that's where their journey ends, and unfortunately, no matter how hard Cactus tried that map, it couldn't propel them into a 3rd map, but guess what? It propels the UK Massive straight into the finals, and that's a 7-5 and a 2-0 for Cowana. And, well, I can safely say that it was not where my predictions went whatsoever. Not sure if you threw a little bit of a vote over to your UK Massive, but that was not what I expected. Of course you did.
I called out the doubters on Twitter earlier. Hap, I'm halfway towards beating you here, so keep that one in mind. We'll see how the next desk goes. But, wow. What a performance from Cowana, surprising everyone. Again, they played wonderfully in their last series with a very dominant 2-0 against Windstrike. And now they've only gone on to do the same against Penta. Will anyone stop them? Will the team that plays in the next series be able to beat them at the EU finals? We'll find out a little bit later on. But for now, let's go to our analysts and get their thoughts on this matchup.
Thanks so much, guys. Yes, the UK Massive team